Hi everyone. It's an amazing day of cricket for New Zealand. New Zealand has certainly can rejoice about the situation that has just occurred with their team. Clearly, there's no doubt about the fact that New Zealand deserved to win the inaugural World Test Championship in Southampton in England. There's no fear that's the case. There's been plenty of discussion already about conjecture as to what happened. But the reality is that India have to be told that India have to be reflective of this situation. They probably did pick the wrong team. And you can't do anything about that in hindsight. The fact is that India were probably one bowler short, and probably Mohammad Siraj was certainly the difference there. Mohammad Siraj was by far the bowler which could have added something to the side. Shardul Thakur perhaps as well, but they chose a traditional side. They had the first time these five bowlers were together in a match. That is, for Shami, a very disappointing Bumrah, Ishant Sharma and Jadeja and the likes of Ashwin. On that basis, though, you'd have to argue that they just were underdone. They probably needed a bowler that could be more penetrative and more of a will to win. I just felt there was something lacking the bite of the Indian bowlers. Now, having said that, Ishant Sharma put his best level technically by far. Shami bowled particularly well. Ashwin bowled pretty well. Jadeja was very ineffective. Jadeja and Bumrah were pretty much below their part. Now that match was made. Jameson, his bowling was the big difference. Yeah, I would argue that was the case. There's no doubt about the fact that Jameson was man of the match. I just want to see who was given the man of the match. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look here. Look at the situation here of who was player of the match. New Zealand chasing 130 odd runs. They can't do it with 2 for 140, of course. Look, you can't argue with it the way Williamson played. Williamson's 49, of course. When Williamson scored miles, shot. Too many last. New Zealand could easily have lost the match at the stage when they were 7 for 192 in the first innings, and Williamson stuck strong and had the likes of Jameson and Southey batting, and they got through to 249. That some 57 runs that was added then through the last 3 wickets really, in a lot of ways, turned the match in New Zealand's favour. So the scorecard, there we are. India's scored 217 and 249. That 32 may not seem like many runs, but it was pretty significant. And then at the end there, then when India's second innings came about, of course, Robert Sharma scored 30. Again, he looked good. He looked good in both Test matches, so both innings of the Test match, but got out. Unfortunately, and the way he was out LBW without actually challenging the dismissal was sensational. Kane is the killer in Test. Kane Willis was brilliant. And then you had Jadeja, quite admirably got 41. He looked quite reasonable towards the end there, and they turned the 170. But then Kane Willis comes out and scores 52, and Ross Taylor 47 with great confident ease. There were 2 early wickets. Ashwin did, bowl well. Yeah, but Ashwin certainly put in a very admirable performance. But then a great performance. What was the betting budget there? It was some 96 between Kane Willis on 52 not out and Ross Taylor 47. Is Jameson the man of the match, or is it actual Kane Williamson? Let's have a quick look. Not. Let's see. New Zealand are deemed to have won by 8 wickets, which sounds like a very comprehensive victory. They haven't announced player of the match yet. Is it going to be Williamson or is it going to be Jameson? Two sons. Williamson and Jameson effectively have done very well in this performance. Yeah, it's a certain victory of sorts. It's allowed New Zealand to be rather happy with their situation and they deserve it. But let's see if there's any celebration going on. Getting phone calls from England here. And Munchie, and now, of course, Barnstead boy, which is Chris Verner's father. Bottom line, India picked the wrong team, and when they needed to bat for one more hour to get a draw, Pant slogged one. Ashwin Sharma played all 4 shots. Yeah, I don't know whether it was necessarily their fault for the loss. It was lost before then. It was lost probably in the bowling department before then. I think Bumrah has a lot to answer for, really. I think his bowling was pretty ordinary. India could not even pull off for a draw. Pathetic performance by India. Oh, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? A little bit harsh. I think that I was telling Kane Williamson had a 96 run partnership. That didn't fall apart. That's why it could have been quite a nasty total too. I mean, to score, what else? They needed to score 138, 139 to win. They got 140. By no means is big enough total. I agree with that. But at the same time, they played a lot longer than you would have given them credit for. So we'll just see where people are, if I'm going to be joining them. Charles Bannerman in colour. There's a guy called Rodney Uati who's done some great work with people. I'm just going to share it now. It's a great post, and of course, India winning is. You have to argue this is a great sense of well, New Zealand had the hoodoo off the back. They've won this match. They won this match without having to. Really, I mean, it was reasonably one-sided. Admittedly, the likes of. I'm just going to get Chris to join. Just want to get Chris to join. Indians will be a little bit sad about this result, yes. Bumrah is useless for tests. Manu John is saying it's hard to say he's useless. I mean, his bowling figures in this particular. Okay, let's go through. There's been some interviews. I'll just read what Ross Taylor had to say. Still sinking in, but it's been a couple of years coming. Lots of rain, but the way the team fought from day one to be out there in a crucial situation for a little bit, it's something I'll never forget. This would have been the highlight of my career. At the start of my career, I felt that we probably didn't have the side to do this, but I'm sure there are a few Kiwis wishing us waking up who will be very proud of this. There was a lot of pressure. It was nice to be standing up for it and actually withstand it. The 2019 World Cup was something that was very tough for us at the time, but this makes up for it. Over time, it'll sink it even more. So he's being humble. Tim Southey said, "We started the journey 2 years ago. To be sitting here as champions is special. There's a lot of hard work that has gone into it. Consistency comes to mind. Consistency through performances, consistency through selections. We do a lot for each other. It's satisfying to achieve that. We have the tournament dates back to beyond the last couple of years. the change room was a lot calmer, knowing we had two experienced guys out there, namely, obviously, Ross Taylor and Williams. Probably the longest 139 runs I've experienced. I think as an international sports person, you want to look for ways to get better. That's what I've done. That's what I've gone to or done. This group has pushed each other to get special, work on skills and fitness. BJ Watling sums up what this team means. We wanted to send him off with a win at the start of the tour. He's been a tremendous part of the side. He's given this team everything he's had. He couldn't be happy, and we couldn't be happier for him. That's brilliant. So 6:35 p.m. A terrific moment at the end for Williams. Went over to Coley, embraced him with a warm hug. They're good mates, admirable respect for each other, and it's great to see the camaraderie they shared together. While the focus is on Williams and Taylor having battled with a 96-run partnership, what a way to say goodbye to BJ Watling, who has been a tireless and exemplary cricketer for New Zealand. He dislocated his finger early in the day, but even then, that couldn't stop him from continuing to keep. We can keep that as. Now he'll get his hand on the ICC WTC mace. Alone, no Indian sharing. The New Zealand team applauds the crowd, many of whom have been vocal in their support all day. The supporters are waving the flag. Boy, have they been allowed or what. Also, while we acknowledge the players, huge credit also goes to the ground staff and the entire team at Asia's Bowl for ensuring we've got as much play as possible over the last couple of days. And that's pretty good. The Shami, of course, had forward whips this off his pads to square leg. He's on the inaugural World Test Champions. So it is a very significant day. There's no doubt about that. I think we're all glad. We're all glad that New Zealand, a team won, and New Zealanders are glad that it's New Zealand and not India. I don't think India are fully accepting of the situation, and of course they'd be disappointed, but they also have a tinge of support for New Zealand, especially the likes of Kane Williamson. They probably think they're nice guys and they deserve to win. The swing of New Zealand beat the seam of India. Tough to bat. Okay. What was the turning point in the match? When I think when New Zealand was 7 for 192, it could have turned against them, but they turned in favour of them. Williamson probably deserves the player of the match. I'm not sure he's been given that yet. Commentary. I read out all the other statements here. Coverage. A lot of discussion. Jared Kimber has made a comment about the height, the pace, the movement, the nous, why Carl Jamieson is close to fast bowling perfection. He probably, it's a hard one. I would go for Williamson because although Jamieson was by far the important part of the performance in terms of his bowling, especially in the first innings, I actually think the batting of Williamson to hold that skeleton together, to be the backbone of that skeleton in the first innings where they were 7 down for 192 and continue to hold the post past that point. In fact, it was pivotal because that then allowed New Zealand to go to 249 and hold a 32-run lead as opposed to being 20-odd behind, and that 50-odd runs in the scheme of things probably made the difference. Certainly, that was a key point. Williamson wicket fell at 221. So 7 for 192. He was able to help get 29 odd runs more, and in the end, they got another further 28 on top of that with Saudis carry on. He's 30 that he got. That was a pivotal moment of the game. Even Jamieson's 21 in that partnership. Jamieson fell at 192. Actually, it was Cole Jamieson was fell at 37 for 192. So a pivotal relationship of Williamson to that part of the day gave me the impression he should be man of the match. And then from that moment onwards, India on the back foot to cash in. They're batting Rohit Sharma and certainly Rishabh Pant put in big sterling efforts to get to the position they were in. Rishabh Pant, albeit got 41 from 88, was certainly not a run a ball effort. It certainly was a great performance. And you would argue that Rishabh Pant could have also had a major part to play, but didn't. Jameson and Southey, murdered almost all of our top order. Yeah, I don't know about murdered, but Jameson was very effective. And as we saw, the likes of, there's a lot to be said about the bowling of Jameson. I'll go with here. The player of the match. It's funny they said the. Well, let's see who the player of the match is. Mr. Sibling was here. Team India under Congress. They won the 7, 11, 13 Cups, World Test Championship, World T20, the World Cup of 11, and the Champions Trophy. Teams India under BJP have lost. I'm sure. I don't know what. I don't quite know what that means. I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm going to try and ask what that means. I'm saying explain. I'm on air. I don't know what that means. It's a sad one. It's a sad one. I'm just trying to find whether we can get any. Yeah, look, let's just go through the scores for those people who may not have seen the scores. India were all out for 217, the first innings. A rather unfortunate situation when they were 3 for 146 on the first day's play. They were 7 for 71, so they were out for 217. Then New Zealand got in the bat, and albeit started very well, they were 2 for 101 at the turn of play. They ended up being at one stage 7 for 192, with Williamson the backbone of that innings, with the likes of Jameson and even Southey coming in towards the end, and moved a position from 7 for 192 to all out for 249. So they went from being behind by some 25 runs to in front by some 32, and that was a significant point of the match. That led to India coming in their second innings being quite thwarted and unfortunately only getting 170, which Pant tried his level best. He would argue Rohit Sharma did as well. And Rohit Sharma again admirably, when trapped LBW, did not challenge the decision. A very unselfish move. A lot of Australian batters could learn from that. India scoring 170, giving themselves a lead of 138 runs. And New Zealand, despite losing to their opening batters, had a close to 100-run partnership for the third wicket. That was between Ross Taylor and, of course, Williamson, with Williamson getting 52. And Ross Taylor, maybe his last match, it's 147. And that was a great effort from both of them to go past the score. So they did lose their opening partners. They lost. It was a 96-run partnership at the end there. And they did let me look at the scoreboard properly. They did lose both their openers, Devon Conway and Latham. Conway was LBW to Ashwin. Ashwin again should open the bowling, really. He didn't. Ashwin bowled tidily for his 2 for 17 off 10, 5 maidens. Took the wickets of both Conway and Latham. Latham was stumped punt for 9, and Devon Conway was actually LBW judgment. So that was a good ending. Time India made excuses. No, we're not. I don't think there's any excuses. This, they were beaten by what was ultimately the better side. Thought India, don't make excuses. That's what I was consistently told during the winter. Yeah, Richard Bastard Boy said that he's away. I guess Virat will blame on the toss, bad weather, and pitch conditions. The toss, I don't think really had an effect. The weather, bad weather, well, they just finished the match, didn't they? They give an extra day by ICC, and the pitch condition was quite fine. I don't think you can blame, again, the weather, the pitch condition was the same for both sides. So, no, that would not be relevant. New Zealand proved that the 1 billion population plus excuses bollocks. Well, Jameson and Southie was certainly significant in the way that they approached this. I have to agree. Chris Vernon's away with the MCC in Oxford. Lucky him. You know, it's the Indian audience is not that keen to be sitting here and talking about it, which is sad. So we've got Siddharth saying, give me 10 minutes. He'll be here in 10 minutes. So it's what time is it now? He'll be here very shortly. We've got okay. There's been a discussion about the political situation of India, and they're blaming. I'm just getting Siddharth's asking me what link. We'll get him to get a link here. So that's coming in. Yeah. Both Gil and Siddharth will be joining us very shortly. So bear with me a minute. But the reality is that New Zealand deserved to win. And even in that last innings, when they hit 138, which doesn't sound like a very big score, they did lose both Latham and Conway relatively early to the good bowling of Ashram, which we did expect Ashram would play a role in that second innings. But again, the experience of Ross Taylor and the experience of the likes of the experience of both the experience of Williamson and Taylor, a great experience, really, quite frankly. They made a good fist of it, and it's quite a sad situation that if New Zealand had lost the match, that would have been so frustrating. You'd have to argue, under the circumstances, that finally New Zealand won. Now, look, it's a good thing for cricket. Let's be honest, it's a great thing for cricket. New Zealand's won the Mace. It's pivotal for them. It's the inaugural World Championship, World Test Championship, the Test World Cup. It'll go down history now as being New Zealand's. The draw won't factor in. None of the sharing of the Mace, even though India will be disappointed to lose. They're probably happy that there's been a winner rather than a sharing of the Mace. India just didn't have it today. I mean, Bumrah, yet again, even in that innings, Bumrah again, did not take a wicket in the entire match. That's a shock. Mohammad Shami was particularly good in the first innings. Isan Sharma wasn't too bad either. Ravi Chandra Ashwin showed his ability by getting those 2 wickets in the innings. Jadeja was also rather poor, or rather average with his bowling. You'd have to argue that the selection of Jadeja could well have been in the hands of Siraj, or Shardul Thakur may have been considered. The batting department, well, the Indian batting lineup was not to blame here today, I don't think. Rohit Sharma could have made a fist of it and got a bigger score. Punt could have went on and got, as opposed to 41, he could have got 81. That may have made some difference. But yeah, I'm sad for India, but I'm not totally sad with the result. I'm relatively happy. We've got the likes of Jameson winning a World Cup. Now, he is going to be a significant bowler in world cricket. He could well be a significant all-rounder in world cricket. Williamson has to go down as one of the best batsmen, certainly in this World Cup, but certainly all the way around too, because let's be honest, I mean, Williamson scored the 52 not out in the second innings, and in the first innings he scored 49. He scored over 100 runs in this test match, and a fairly low-scoring test match. Those will be centuries and other performances on other grounds. India lost this in the first innings, 141 for 3, 146 for 3, and should have got more because we got 320. Yes, that's certainly one aspect of it. And when New Zealand was 7 for 192, they should have been all out for less than 278, and they scratched another 50 odd runs there. 58 runs. 57 runs, what was it? 40, 57 runs they scratched out at the end there, which that was not something that India could do. Williamson was there for that 49. If you compare Williamson's 49 and Ajit Rahani's 49 in the first innings, the way that Rahane got out could have prevented them from going to 320 or a higher score, and Williamson's 49 was etched out to make them go to 249. So two different distinct ways in which you look at that. I mean, is it a heartbreak for India? I guess it is. You'd have to argue it was heartbreak for India. But New Zealand just seemed to have the ascendancy for most of the match, so you've got to give them that credit. Yeah. A bit of sarcasm there from the likes of Munchie. Jameson's talking now. I can repeat what he said. Let me just see if I can get a hold of what Jameson said. There was commentary about what he said. Let's have a look at the commentary there. The retiring BJ Watling, well, in fact, Kyle Jamieson is the man of the player of the match. So Kyle Jamieson was the player of the match. And all said and good, that was a great situation there for Jamieson. He deserved to be player of the match. I'm just going to repeat that commentary there. We've got New Zealand. So New Zealand have been crowned World Test. So are you happy with the fact there wasn't called a World Cup? A World Test Championship? It sounds like it's the whole 2 years is the championship, which is rather long. I guess it is. It's not. They're not all playing in one to go. So Kyle Jamieson. The more I look at it, I actually think that Williamson was the player of the match myself. As more of a playoff than a cup. Kyle Jamieson was man of the match. Just updating my screens, guys. Man of the match. I mean, really, Williamson deserved it more with 49 and 52. Under the circumstances, that's two great scores in this match. Both Taylor and Watling go out. Winners. India. Would you say India were devastated? Is that too heavy a word? Let's have a look. So we'll go through what BJ Watling said just quickly. He's ecstatic. Been a lot of hard work over a long period of time as a group to get over the line. It's special chasing a total like this. And one wicket on a wicket that was offering a bit was special from the two of our greatest, as in Taylor and Williamson. No, I don't imagine I'd end as a World Test champion. My family back home, my mama has stood up for me in tough times. My wife, Jess, and the two boys, I thank you to all of them. It's been a hell of a journey. Huge support over the years from my mates. We've got a special group. This is a great way to finish. It certainly is for Watling. Okay. Then Kyle Jamieson, having won the man of the match, he there might be photos there of there's only photos of, so I'll just read out what Kyle Jamieson actually said. There's something of this context in Test cricket is massive, and to be standing up here is surreal to receive this award. We knew we had a big first hour, and just to see how things panned out, we were hopeful they might pan out our way if we put the ball in the right place. But we knew that this is a quality Indian team, and that's great acknowledgements. Quality in the team as well. It was nice to get the ball first up and to play a part, I guess. The work that Tim, Trent, Wags do, I just ride on the back of that. It was good to bowl in the nets to him, Coley at the RCB, and to be able to, let's look, and to be able, where is it? I lost it there. And to be able to go up against him over the last 6 days was awesome. So he acknowledges Virat Kohli. Thanks, Shashank. What a great member that was. Ross Taylor, the senior most member of this team, who's been there every step of the journey, whipping the winning runs over the square leg was great. Okay, that's fantastic. Now, Virat Kohli come out and talks as well. Listen to what he had to say. First up, big congratulations to Kane and the whole team. Well said. They showed great consistency and heart to pull out a result in just over 3 days. Sticking to their processes put us under pressure, which they did. They deserved the win. The first day got washed out, and when play resumed, it was difficult to get any momentum. And he batted well that day, Virat Kohli. We lost only 3 wickets, but we could have got more runs if play had gone on without the interruptions. Fair enough. To say that Kiwi bowlers executed their plans to perfection and pushed us back, and we were probably 30 or 40 runs short. Yeah. Or not picking 4 quicks. This is what the comment that someone else has made. You need to have a fast bowling runner for that. We've been successful with a combination of different conditions. We thought this was our best combination. We had batting depth as well. If there was more game time, the spinners would have come into the game more as well. Jamieson is a quality cricketer. He hit really good areas with the ball, and he's gutsy batsman as well. He had a great game and thoroughly deserved the big man of the match. It's great for the game. The more the test format is given importance, the test format is the heartbeat of the international format. We're looking forward to the long summer ahead. We've got the squad and the quality to do something special. Beautifully said, actually. I'm very impressed with the way Virat Kohli has said that. That's a very notable quote because he acknowledges very, very humbly the performance by New Zealand. He talked highly of Jamieson. Virat Kohli is a class act. Absolute class act. The way that there's several aspects of this game that I'm very impressed with, and I'll talk about them a bit more now, and hopefully we'll have a few guests here to talk about as well. I'm just going the way that Rohit Sharma, I said earlier, the way that Rohit Sharma actually went about not contesting his dismissal was, to me, brilliant. It really left a mark on me. The way that Virat Kohli has just talked about the game there and acknowledged both a good friend of his, as in Kane Williamson, is very, very admirable indeed, and I have a high level of respect there for that. So, and thirdly, Rishabh Pant's bold attitude, even in the second innings, was quite impressive. I've got a lot of time for these people. I think the Virat Kohli's comments were exemplary. I think that people shouldn't discount the fact the way that Kohli, Rohit Sharma, and Rishabh Pant played this match compared to the attitudes in the not so recent, well, relatively recent past with Warner, Smith, and Bancroft. Those three disgraced Australia. These three men have made it very commendable for India. Even though they didn't win the World Test Championship, India can hold their head up very proudly for what's gone on. It's been quite fantastic. I'm very impressed indeed. I'm just waiting to see. Let's see what. I'm actually very impressed with three of the Indian players in particular. Full stop. They are Virat Kohli. They are, if you're at Coles, I'm going to make this pretty clear. I'm very, from an Indian perspective, that you're sad that if you were India, you'd be sad that it'd be sad about the way that India have lost. But I would be very proud of the way they've handled this match, especially towards the end. New Zealand were impressive. Ashok Datani, I would agree with that. And Rohit Sharma, I'm wondering if people realise the significance of his ability there to actually not his ability that is not to a challenge, and his non-challenge or review, ironical standard or review of his dismissal. And it was effectively his LBW dismissal, something like that. You could argue that that was Rohit Sharma's performance. Rohit Sharma's performance in the second innings to not to challenge his dismissal was incredible. Ashwin was not a saviour in any way. Well, no, but he did bowl well. You can't blame Ashwin at all. Perhaps Kohli should have let him bowl at that stage in the first innings. Galton, Bhattacharya made that comment, along with Pant's effort. Yeah, Rishabh Pant. Virat Kohli probably didn't cap as well as he would like. They're slightly off. I'll go back to the point when they were 7 for 192, and I think it was Jamieson got out. Williamson was still in bat, and ultimately Southie batted towards the end. That was pivotal because it's 7 for 192, New Zealand, and I predicted that the Indians Raw 217 may well have been not as bad as he thought, because I thought New Zealand would go less than 217. They certainly 7 for 192 could have easily been scheduled all out for less than 200. But in turn, they turned that into a 58-run increase to the score. 57 run increase to 249, which gave them a 32-run lead, and that put that little bit of an edge against India. If they maybe had bottom out for 192, they would have been then 25 in front as opposed to 32 behind. That's 50-odd runs difference. That would have then made a difference to their score. They would have been over 200 in front. It may have made that a little bit more of a difficulty for New Zealand to play. So yeah, there's a lot of sad things there for India. But let's go back to New Zealand. BJ Watman, his performance, having dislocated his ring finger on his right hand and continuing on, was admirable. He kept particularly well throughout the match. took some great catches and kept better than punt, you would argue. He was great. Ross Taylor, unsung hero with Williamson at the end there. Take my hat off him in his last match. Well, I don't know whether he's officially announced it, but I'd say it's pretty close to his last match. Certainly it's BJ Watling's. And Ross Taylor very humbly will not take the limelight away from BJ Watling. They retire a few weeks later. Kane Williamson's captaincy was particularly good, and his batting, the 49 the first, 59 out the second, was the backbone of both innings. Could easily have got him player of the match. Jameson was certainly the man of the match based on his bowling efforts, especially in the first innings, and certainly to an extent in the second innings, and led the way in their bowling attack. Southey was also very good. Bolt was quite admirable. Wagner's Wagner, as we always know him to be. Did Grantham bowl? I don't think did Grantham bowl in that innings? Let's have a look. Did Grantham bowl in that innings? I'm just double checking. I don't recall exactly. I'm actually trying to think back whether Grantham figured that he was the right selection though. And you would argue that New Zealand probably should have had Siraj in there, actually in place of no. In fact, well, interestingly enough, I didn't think that was the case. De Graham didn't bowl in the second innings at all, with Southey getting 4 wickets, Bolt getting 3, Jamieson getting 2, and Wagner getting 1. So Southey's 4 wickets is interesting because in the first innings, Southey also double wicket. But Kyle Jamieson's 5 for 30 on the first innings was probably significant enough to get him through. Yeah, interesting indeed. Very interesting indeed, guys. Anyway, we've got someone joining us. Let's have a look. Siddharth. I've been rabbiting on here for a while.
I've been celebrating. I'm sorry. This is without doubt one of my greatest days as a cricket fan for me. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I have been following New Zealand cricket for 29 years.
Wow.
1992. Because I'll tell you why. My first televised ODI match, which I saw, was Australia versus New Zealand. Eden Park, Auckland, 1992 World Cup. The first India match that I saw was India versus New Zealand, Hamilton, 1994. Couple days last test. The first ODI which I saw in India was India versus New Zealand. Even overseas, the first India game that I saw was India versus New Zealand in Eden Park when Tendulkar opened the batting for the first time. The first T20, New Zealand versus West Indies. So my connection with New Zealand cricket is incredibly deep. It's a shame I haven't been there now. The desire to come to New Zealand and Australia is much, much more now after this monumental World Test Championship win. It's monumental because I've seen it in the promos. The winner of the first ODI World Cup was the West Indies, 1975. The winner of the first World T20, India, 2007. Winner of the first inaugural World Test Championship, the Black Caps. Finally, they have done it.
Isn't that significant? What you've said, very significant. I'm going to be writing that down. So West Indies, 1975, the first so-called 50 over World Cup, correct?
Yep.
India in 2007 with the T20.
World T20. Yep.
So where was that? That was in England as well?
2007, South Africa, Johannesburg. They beat Pakistan.
Right. So I mean, that why I thought England was, I thought all the World Cups have started in England, but they haven't.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Well, so it almost is this going to be an era of New Zealand cricket? Are New Zealand going to dominate the world in cricket? Probably not in the short form, but in the long form. They may well. It may inspire young New Zealanders to come through now and aspire to be there. That could be a very pivotal moment.
I hope so. Because look, New Zealand for now will have to prove that you will not just play in conditions that suit you. In New Zealand and England, they have done well in the West Indies. They have done well in Sri Lanka. Credit to them.
Yep.
But they have not won a series in India. They have not won a series in South Africa. They have won in England now after 21 years. They have not beaten Australia for the last 20 odd years. The real test awaits there. And New Zealand are coming to India for a test series in November. At that
That's
time,
interesting. Do you think they're going to be able to make a dent on the Indian side then?
I hope so. But looking at, the world nowadays is based on home dominance. Recently, England and Australia suffered at home against New Zealand and India. But if you look at it, traditionally, home dominance has been the key. India have not lost at home for the past 9 years. It'll be very difficult for New Zealand because they don't have that quality spin attack to combat it in India. That will be the key for them. They have to start winning in Australia and South Africa to prove that they are the true bona fide world champions. Because remember, there'll still be a lot of detractors saying, oh, they played 2 tests before India. They played, they know the conditions well, the level playing field and everything. I only have one thing to say. Okay. This is a point to ponder for the ICC. In the second cycle, supposing both teams are qualified for the final. The final is in June. Again, let us assume June 2025. Ensure both the teams do not play a single game before the final. Let them come for the directly to the final. Makes sense, doesn't it?
It does.
We are all harping upon the fact. Because no one thought New Zealand will enter the final. And that's why they played those 2 tests against England. No one thought New Zealand will enter the final. And again, let me tell you, they only came to the final because Australia were docked 4 points. For me, that was the turning point of the ICC World Test Championship. That the force was with the Kiwis then at that time.
Well, can you imagine if Australia were in this final? I would have been very frustrated.
The build-up and the fever pitch would have been enormous. Because now the India-Australia rivalry is on par with the England-Australia rivalry as well. When it comes to intensity. For intensity. The Indians would have had a different body language. The Indians would have had a different sense of aggression. And they would have had it in their mind that we have beaten the Aussies. We can do it anytime, anywhere. But with the Kiwis, today, what stood out was the discipline. As I said in the pre-match, Norman, discipline. They didn't give anything away. Jameson didn't give anything away. Wagner didn't give anything away. Bolt didn't give anything away. And the key factor, the tail. Yet again, the tail. First innings, 12 runs. The last 3 wickets, just 12. The last 3 wickets for New Zealand, 55. Massive. That was the
57, actually.
Yeah, 57. Massive. Changed the game totally because a 32-run lead in the broader context is enormous on this wicket. Look what happened. And again, I cannot imagine, like I discussed, who got those 2 wickets? Ashwin. Why didn't he get an extended spell? You have 1 month to go for the England tests. You could have bowled the full day. Why?
Well, I think it was Galton and yourself and I talked earlier about the fact that he should open the bowling. He didn't do that.
Why? Who got those 2 wickets? It was Ashwin.
And Bumrah didn't get a wicket. Bumrah's, I tell you what, Bumrah's in severe doubt to play the first test against England. You have to argue if they're very serious about it. Siraj is definitely in, and you may consider other bowlers to join that bowling attack because
Ishant could be not because he injured his finger and he walked off. He couldn't complete the over, so there is a fitness concern even on Ishant. But the main factor was this: we all thought the team composition is great. No one ever thought that Bumrah would be out of rhythm. Honestly, I found it shocking. Bumrah was missing his lengths. And he was the most easier to negotiate when it should be the other way around. You don't negotiate Bumrah that easily. His lack of rhythm proved to be very costly in both innings. I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised. Why Bumrah is out of rhythm? I don't know.
Well, I hate to say this, and it might sound very fickle to say this, but the reality is he got married, and I'm afraid on certain players, their level of importance of cricket over marriage does suffer. I'm not blaming marriage for it, but he did get married and he's had a high point in his life outside of his cricketing career. That can detract you from your cricket. Ever since that whole part of his life took place. And there is a bit of a story about, I shouldn't go on it, there's a bit of a story about Bumrah in Australia and someone other than his wife, but I won't go down that track. There's been a few rumours about that, but I won't touch on that topic. The reality is Bumrah, I'm very certain that he's been affected by his marriage. The romance, the high point of his life is there. Am I as bold to say that Virat Kohli has been slightly affected by the birth of his first child? Isn't it? It's. I mean, let me just take the context of that. I'm not blaming or excusing, but these things happen in people's lives. People do put the situation in a context a little bit there. You have to remember, Virat Kohli is an amazing man. I'll talk in a minute about that. But the reality is, we're forgetting about one person here. We've talked about Jameson. We've talked about Bolt, Southey. We've talked about the lack of Bumrah and the like. We've forgotten about talking about Kane Williamson today. Now, in my humble opinion, I would have actually given the man of the match to Kane Williamson. Yes. He scored 49 in the first innings at a point when they were down 7 for 192. He provided a backbone to that innings to get very close to 240. He was out of 221 or something. He was the backbone of that force. His 49 was invaluable. Rahani's dismissal at 49, despite being the same score, was abysmal. Then in this innings just now, he scored 52 not out. New Zealand could easily have lost a few wickets and been in a bit of danger. Who knows? But it was in command, both in the first inning of batting and the second innings, and the overall test as a captain. I would argue that Kane Williamson is the real difference between the two sides. Jameson certainly played well, no doubt. He bowled very well, took 5 wickets. But the captaincy of Williamson, the batting in both innings of Williamson, I think actually quietly overrides what Jameson's done. What do you think of that?
Absolutely. I mean, the Iceman, that 49 was as important as scoring a century. In a dire situation with Shami having his tail up, Ishant having his tail up, the way how he played them was brilliant. Absolutely. Typical news, playing in those conditions, playing it late, watching the ball late, he did that. And the 4th innings, let us not forget that amongst all the current crop of players, Williamson has an excellent 4th innings record, even better than Kohli and Smith, if I may add. He's won them many matches by chasing these low totals with his calm demeanor. Williamson, for me, definitely is my man of the match. My man of the ICC World Test Championship, if I have to put it in that way, because it takes real guts to ensure that, okay, our one series was cancelled due to COVID, no problem. We were whitewashed 3-0 in Australia, no problem. Let us utilize our strengths. Let's do it. And they did it. And he didn't play in the England Test series. Only one test he failed in Lords. But look how he's responded for the main World Test Championship final.
That says a lot, doesn't it? Because coming into this match, and I think you and I talked about it earlier on in one of our discussions, his form has been pretty ordinary. And yes, it was a concern in this match. But he completely turned it around. He scored over 100 runs with only 1 dismissal.
Yes.
So his batting average in this match was 100.
101. Yep.
So effectively, look, and I saw the ICC leading Test batsman, and they had Steve Smith on top, percentage-wise. I thought, something's really wrong there, and really, really wrong. To me, the Fab 4, I call it Fab 5 because Baba Azam deserves to be in there.
Yep.
I would say number 1, you have to put Williamson.
I don't know how these rankings work. I really don't know how, because
how is Australia 3rd? How is Smith 1st? That does not cut it for me for a lot of reasons. Smith should lose points for being banned from cricket. Did he lose points for that? No. Do you lose points for that? Yeah, you penalised for that?
No.
Is Warner penalised? He's in the top 10 as well. I would have penalised them both. They don't deserve any verification of their batting or their stand. To me, Williamson's number one in the batting pecking order. Number 2 would be Kohli. 3 would be Root. Bubba Zum would be probably 4th, and I'd put Smith 5th.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion, I don't want to talk about stats of averages or whatever. I don't think that's that's irrelevant about a whole host of other reasons. I don't think Smith is number 1 at all. And I made a comment the other day about that, and someone said, "Oh, look at his batting average of 60. Isn't he a great player?" Well, I'm afraid his reputation's been made.
I think we have to judge everybody based on all their formats, not just one format. Absolutely. I would argue where Steve Smith is a test great, Kohli is a limited overs great.
Absolutely.
There's no two ways about it.
Absolutely.
But Williamson is getting there. Root, honestly, I don't know. He's somewhere in the middle. I mean, he has a prolonged lean patch in tests, ODIs and T20As, but then he scores big. Babar Azam is not getting his due primarily because he's from Pakistan. As you know, contributions from Pakistan often don't get that much of appreciation like it should. But Babar is getting there. He's classy. One of the few Pakistani batsmen who are classy in their stroke play. One of the few.
Did I tell you that I actually know Babar Azam as well as Ashar Ali? I met them several times in Australia, but I met them also in England when they were going to a certain location to get their bats. It was by accident. I keep forgetting the name of this company. It's not a well-known batting company. The gentlemen there, they left Gray Nichols. They started their own thing. They have trees in their own backyard. They're eccentric. They drink a little bit. They make all the bats, by the way. All the best players go there to get their bats. They might put Gray Nichols stickers, Spartan stickers on, but it actually comes from these gentlemen's backyard. I'll find the name of it. I've actually got one of the bats. Anyway, he was there. They both were there. They were very humble guys. They're both great men. And you're right, they don't get the rewards. I saw Shade Afridi announce his World 11, okay, for the Lord's Cricket Ground. You know, they've got those series of, they talk about their best side. He picked his best 11. Of course, it was Pakistan heavy. I understand that. But I really like the players he put forward. Wasim Akram, you have to think he was one of the best bowlers in the world. He should be in every 11, shouldn't he? Anyway, so Williamson for me was extremely important. But I love the way that Kohli, in his final speech, really respected Williamson. It shows the mark of Kohli and Williamson are at the highest pitch. Root and Smith are below them. I'm sorry. In attitude and in grace. And I'll go back to a discussion I think I made earlier with you. 3 players in the Indian team have left an indelible mark on me, especially in this game and in general. Rohit Sharma, not going like that to his LBW, just not reviewing it. Incredible, because that would have been pretty significant if you think about it. If Rohit Sharma had survived and batted well today, it may have a different story. Rohit Sharma, the way that Kohli has conducted himself, the way he approaches fans, the way he signs autographs, he's an absolute gentleman. Kohli is. Kohli is by no means arrogant. He understands his greatness. He now is humble to it, and he is improving day in, day out. The man he's really stamping himself in world cricket. MS Dhoni is certainly up there as well, but Kohli, to me, has really shown himself to be a great player. So I respect Rohit Sharma and Kohli beyond belief. And thirdly, Rishabh Pant. Even the way he played today, the gutsiness of his batting, even though he only got 40-odd, something about him, you knew when he was batting there was something going to happen. He played some remark. He got out to a bad shot. It was bad luck. They didn't deserve to win today. Fair enough. Those 3 players now, I'm going to be talking to Australians on the streets about them. Those 3 players have gone another level. Smith, Warner, in particular Warner with the IPL recently, and Smith in general. Smith coming out and saying, well, I'm pledging to be a good captain in the future in the press when no one's ordained him to be. Is either arrogant or stupid. And Bancroft, we can forget about. Those 3 they've dropped in importance. Well, in Australian cricket has suffered immeasurably because of the Sandgate and continues to suffer. And they've got to lose that arrogance. They're gradually, Nick Hockley as the CEO will have to lose that. But back to India. Great graciousness today. very gracious in defeat. But
I
as you
think
said,
that is why. That is why. I think New Zealand brings that out. I mean, see, they haven't sledged people, they haven't rubbed people the wrong way. They've accepted defeat. I mean, for me, Kane Williamson should have won the Laureus Sportsman of the Year award in 2019. If it
absolutely.
was any other side, they would have objected. But Williamson's speech in 2019, in the aftermath of such a brutal final, it is a lesson for all of us as leaders. Like, okay, take everything in your stride. No problem. We will bounce back. And they have bounced back. You see, even New Zealand, for them to get here, they have had to endure a lot of pain. That pain began in 2012 when they were shot out for 45 against South Africa at Newlands. Steyn, Mokel, Philander, absolutely decimating New Zealand. All out for 45. Dressing room divisions between Ross Taylor and Brendan McCullum. How much low can it go? They realized it. Yes, we have touched rock bottom. Now we have to come up. It needed McCullum's captaincy to boost them. 2015 was the first taste of international on the big stage, the World Cup final. They were blown away by the Australian team who were at top of their game at that time. I mean, the Australians, when they reach the final, they bring out their A game somehow. 2019, again in England, they defied the odds again. 2021, they have again defied the odds, but this time, third time lucky. Thankfully, they did win. So there is an adage. Nice guys don't finish last all the time. So that's why there is genuine respect for Kohli. I mean, Kohli and Williamson, the hug, the camaraderie that they have shared, even in the practice sessions. You wouldn't have seen it if it was in India versus Australia. No. That's the difference.
Look, Siddharth, I'm Australian. I love Australia. I'm very proud of Australia, especially through the eras of war, border, to a lesser extent, but Taylor as well, Ponting, Clark to an extent. Steve Smith initially, I was pretty happy with him. But for the last year or two, or however long it's been since both Sandpaper and a number of other things, since 18, and with Warner, I have my opinion of Australian cricket's gone slowly but surely downhill. Pat Cummins has resurrected it somewhat, but the Shane Watsons, the Warners, now Smith, even Bancroft, and even some of the Matthew Wades and Travis Heads, there's been some very disappointing approaches to Australian cricket. Tim Payne, I thought he was needed when what's his name, when Smith got dumped. He was needed. But even he became a bit arrogant, especially the way he approached punt in the Test series about the Gabba. He made a buffoon of himself. That came down to Sutherland, perhaps, in his management, right down. Pat Howard, Tim Whitaker as a media management. Oh my God, they were abysmal. They all really brought down the standard of Australian cricket, and we're in a bit of a hole at the moment. And we've got to resurrect that. Nick Hockley is the man. I'm very impressed with the way last year Australia's slowly going a little bit up, but they've got to really seriously consider whether they want to bring Smith back as captain. Quite frankly, there's murmurings about that. I say absolutely no. They don't. Why go back? Why? Steve Smith said he wouldn't want to be captain anymore. And I respected that. I respected when Steve Smith said, I won't be captain anymore. I actually respected that. Now that he all of a sudden says, I'm pledging to be captain again, is hypocritical. I think we've made a mistake. I'm telling you right now that if I were involved with Australian cricket, I'd be nurturing Jason Sangha and the likes of Pucovski, because those two, in particular Jason Sangha, who hasn't got a Guernsey in Australia, as captain, being of Indian derivation, the multiculturalism of that decision would be ginormous, not only on Australian cricket, but on world cricket. It would give a lot of extra respect for Australia. Jason Sangha would be the most polished of captains, not unlike Williamson and Kohli. Australia needs someone like him, even though his form is not quite there yet to be in the side. Why not give him a go? They put Tim Payne in there, for God's sake. Was he informed to be on the side? No. I would trust it. Jason Sangha's 21. I know it's too early. Maybe in a year to 2 years, allow Aaron Finch, perhaps, and Tim Payne to float around in the captaincy role, but groom Jason Sangha, put him in and you watch the Australian mentality change. So like an Usman Khawaja, for example, was treated badly, you would argue, in the end. Even though he was quite a vocal character, he's actually started a YouTube channel, by the way, which I thought was interesting. He was given, there was an element of, I don't want to say racism, but an element of pigeonholing going on there. To me, Jason Sangha should be the next Australian captain. If he is, he was the Australian under-19 captain. His pedigree. Watch Australian cricket turn the corner. That's my bold prediction. They should not go back to Steve Smith.
Hope so.
What do you think of what I just said? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Exactly. I mean, look, the entire culture of Australian cricket was shattered when the sandpaper gate thing happened.
But it was leading up to that. It wasn't just, that was the pinnacle of it.
Exactly. Because it brought into account that toxic culture of winning at all costs. That got shredded with sandpaper gate. Now Australia will have to find, they had to play something against their grain. That was not to sledge. Understand that we are at the lowest ebb. Let us just play like nice guys. Let us play determined cricket, scrappy cricket. It worked in the Ashes because England did themselves no favors by batting collapses and they let Steve Smith off the hook, number one. But everything was undone in Sydney, yet again, 2020. When Tim Payne and his aggression showed that you can't change their cricketing culture in a way. And they paid the price. They were heavily criticized in Sydney. It impacted them in Brisbane. And that's why they lost. Australia for this second cycle. Now, I think their second cycle will begin with the Ashes. Now, let us see how that shapes up. Because I think before Sangha, I would just say let him be made the vice captain if he gets a chance. If not Tim Payne, make Pat Cummins the captain. A bowling captain.
Do you really think that's the answer, Pat Cummins as captain? He's a great player. He's a lovely man. He's a great gentleman. He's got the presence about him that he's well liked by everybody. You can't not like Pat Cummins. He's a very likable fellow. Even when he bowls, he's likable to an extent.
Yeah.
Okay. The transition should be, perhaps you're right, Tim Payne's staying there for the whole Ashes series. And there's two reasons why. Well, Justin Langer has supported him, and I respect Langer for that. He's not listening to public, or it's not even public. The public have not warmed to Steve Smith's crappy, I'm pledging to be captain again without being even asked. It's really not worked. It's very bad publicity stuff there by Steve Smith. I think Tim Payne can warm himself. He's captain in the match at Hobart of the inaugural test against Afghanistan. Incredibly emotive moment. Afghanistan playing against Australia in a real test match. Tim Payne at home in Hobart. There's a lot of pluses there. There's even an Afghani community in Hobart. There's a few aspects to that which are very impressive. Give Tim Payne to go through the Ashes series, you're right. Perhaps group Jason Sangha into the side. But to me, that's the way they should go. I believe that very strongly. And I'm not just talking about the fact he's an Indian derivation. But you know what? That actually does help. Why? Because he's a class act. I know the boy. He is a polished media person. Great diplomacy. Great articulation, elegant play out of a Luxman or a Dravid style batting style. He has got old style values, his family. Get him in the side.
Hope so.
He scored centuries against all the touring parties, England, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. He showed the ability to score big when it counts. He captained the under-19 side. Give him a go. Take a punt. Not a rich punt, but take a punt.
Yep,
okay. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to do something rather unusual here. So I want your opinion. I've got another phone here. I was invited to the Delhi Capitals fan club. They want me to go on air. Why don't we do it? Why don't I hold my phone and why don't I go live on their platform and still talk with you and me? That'll be interesting. Would you want to try? I'll give that a go. I'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre thing to do, but I'll let them know I'm on there for that sake, and I'll quickly tell them.
Should have done much better.
Because look, here they are. This is their platform.
Okay.
As the ICC major knockout games. So I guess that is the point where we need to improve. Like our batters.
It's interesting to say. I'll just give it 2 minutes. This is unusual.
Yep.
on the game which has just concluded. New Zealand winning the World Test Championship, and your thoughts on it?
Okay, guys, thank you for letting me go on the Delhi Capitals fan club. You know what? You're going to find this amazing, guys. I'm live to you now. Aren't I? You can all hear me and see me. I'm actually live on my program at the same time. Have a look.
Hello.
Man, that's great.
So I'm actually on both platforms. And there's Siddharth Vishwanathan there. Wave against Siddharth.
Hi.
So I'm actually on both platforms, guys, as we're talking. And I wanted to be able to join yours while I'm on mine, and to thank India the way they've played. There were 3 of your players that I've got great respect for. Rohit Sharma, the way he did not challenge his LBW dismissal. He didn't go upstairs. Very, very unselfish. I'm very, very proud of the way he did that. Secondly, Virat Kohli's adoration of Williamson and the New Zealand side was magnificent. Great camaraderie. The likes of Dave Warner, Steve Smith, and Bancroft should note that. And the third player is Rishabh Pant. The gutsiness of his performance today. Delhi Capitals man as he is. Magnificent play. Those 3 players are outstanding. I'm going to be on the streets of Sydney tomorrow chatting to Australians about those 3 players, because I believe their maturity, their status in world cricket is immense. Congratulations to New Zealand with Williamson and Jamieson and Southee and the like playing very well. But I'm actually, and they deserve it, but I'm more proud of the way India have handled this. Good on you, India. I'm very proud. I've been talking on my platform about Jason Sangha, who you may know. Have you heard of Jason Sangha? Guys?
I heard of him. Yeah.
He was at 9 Australian captain. He is worthy of the next Australian captaincy for a lot of reasons. Steve Smith isn't, I'm afraid, in my opinion. He's a Delhi Capitals man, yes, but it's time to move to the next chapter. I'm particularly impressed with Kohli, both obviously the likes of, who else did I say before? Kohli, Punt, and Rohit Sharma. Thank God we've got those guys in your team. They make me very proud to be involved with India. So I'm going to say this much. You've got a great platform, and I want to be on more often with your group. I have a lot of time for you. I'm on my platform on Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnik now. I really enjoy Delhi Capitals as the team that I believe will win the IPL, even though I'm a KKR man to an extent. I believe Delhi Capitals will win the actual IPL. So there you go. Thanks, guys, for having me on your show. I'd love to be more often on. Thanks for the link. And the same reciprocates to my channel. You're welcome there as well. So you can say goodbye to Siddharth.
Bye-bye.
So that's all the best, guys. I really appreciate being on your channel. I think it's wonderful. And more importantly, India can hold their head up high after today.
Well, thank you, Norman, for those warm thoughts that you have for us, and it's been lovely hosting you on our show. I think it's time for you to be here on your channel and host your show. Thank you for being part of this show. Would love to have a personal interview with you in the upcoming shows. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. See you later. All the best, guys. Well done. That was unusual.
That was really.
I mean, to me, I love. You know me well enough. I don't say things to gain votes or gain viewers. That's not what I'm after. I love cricket. I love the Indian guys for a long time. Obviously, yourself, Debash has sent from Extra Time, Boria Majunda from Sports Today, Kuntal Chakraborty from ABP News. You know, the list goes on. There's many more players like people I can mention. I love India. I love Sri Lanka. I love cricket, and I'm very blessed to be able to get this opportunity as well. So, all right. Michael Vaughan, here we go. Munchie's just commented. Vaughan says on Twitter.
What has Vaughan done again?
I sometimes find very disrespectful, especially to comment on skin color, racism in any form I cannot tolerate. That's a nice statement, but I'm very ambivalent about Michael Vaughan. He makes some rather stupid comments. Then he makes some very good comments. So I'm a bit ambivalent about that. What do you think of that? I don't know the content.
I mean, look, we've already had an issue of racism in the test match. 2 people were rejected from the Aegis Bowl. And I think now that should be the key. If you racially abuse someone, you do not deserve to enter a cricket stadium ever in your life, because the line has to be drawn. Now people are much more active when it comes to racial stuff, especially in BLM times. You cannot hope that you pass a racist comment and you get away with it. It's not possible. About Michael Vaughan, look, he does like to rile people up, but then it's up to you. Look within what he says. And if you have the facts to counter it, please go ahead and counter it. You need to have proper facts. Because trolling is a very shortcut method of trying to abuse people with no facts. If you have a genuine fact, counter it with Michael Vaughan, he'll be graciously saying, yes, I am wrong. He does things like, for example, Kevin Peterson likes to play up to the gallery. That's his way. Try countering him with a fact. If he accepts it, fine. Same with Michael Vaughan. Everybody who said that the ICC made a blunder by choosing Southampton, I just have 2 things to say. Number one, Southampton was made the venue because of the COVID situation. You couldn't have played in Lords. What saved the ICC this time was the 6th day. Simple. And in the tweet that he's just said about New Zealand having a smaller population and constantly achieving better, yes, I don't find fault with that. Yes. Agreed. New Zealand have not had that much success when it comes to cricket when compared to India. Yes. But more importantly, if you look at the Olympics, the Olympic sports, New Zealand has consistently outperformed India. I'm not just looking at cricket. As a sporting nation, New Zealand have had far more success in the Olympics than India, if you have to look at it. They won more golds, for crying out loud, against India. So that itself is one indication. Cricket, they have just come on par with India. Let me just say that. They may have just come on par with India. They won the Champions Trophy. They won the World Test Championship. They should have won the ODI World Cup, but they got lost on the technicality bit. The World T20 remains the only thing that they need to win. And even the World Cup, which they might get a chance in 2027. 2023 in India, I
Well,
don't
they played
think
Australia in the final in 2015, of course, didn't they?
Yeah, they didn't do that. So, yes, it was like many people are saying he was not racist in his Twitter post about New Zealand, India population comparison. No. The way, I mean, even Krishna saying the way to think about it is when you are top of the pile, people want to knock you off. You should take it with pride. In the past, it used to be anyone but Australia. Well, the Indian fans, I would just like to say one thing to the Indian fans. For far too long, you abused the Aussies for being at the top. Now that when you are at the receiving end, can you afford to be on the defensive? Take it on the chin and just move on. Every team that is on the top will have detractors.
Of course.
That's why. Take it on the chin, move on. Simple.
I'm actually very proud of the way that I'm seeing Kohli and his team conduct themselves in this match. Of course, it's New Zealand. You can't help but feel happy for them. And they're great friends. We know that. The reality is, so they would have been not so, well, maybe they would have been gracious, but probably not as gracious. The reality is Australia don't deserve to be gracious too. We spit on a lot of teams. The arrogance of Australia was from the cricket administration right down. You can't even, you really deep down, you can't even blame Warner for his actions, even though they were wrong and they were disgusting, and he's become that way. Dave Warner, years earlier, when he first got involved with cricket, he was brash, but he was actually quite humble, and he was very much grounded by his Matraville upbringing from a housing commission home. His parents were dead set battlers. He bought them a house. He had some great admirable traits. Since he's got married, I won't go into that. It's another story. Cricket Australia got hold of him. You walk in the door for Cricket Australia a few years ago. If you're an EA or a PA, you're arrogant within 2 minutes.
Indeed.
You always said you are going to be an EA and PA in Cricket Australia. You're going to be arrogant to people. You're going to be aloof. Something went dramatically wrong, and with Nick Cockley, they're going to lose that now. They got rid of their media manager, their previous CEO, their high performance, blah, blah, blah. There were a lot of people in there. It was a level of hubris, absolute arrogance. Their media management, one particular person I've just mentioned, was disgraceful. He had this horrible approach. He's gone. And he's gone in very unceremonious circumstances, by the way, too, which we won't go into. The reality is they understood their problems now. Well, sorry, they have understood their problems. Nick Hockley was brought in. I'll quickly talk about him. I bumped into him at the SCG. He came up to me and said, "Hi, Norman. I've seen you at the front during the series. Well done." Unabashed, unnecessarily so. He was actually busy on the phone. He stopped that conversation and focused and talked to me. That showed me a man that's humble and decent to the core. The arrogance of some of the other previous people that were right past me and would have almost ignored me.
Yep.
I'm more important. I'm too important. I don't try to talk to him either, but there's a difference. There's a difference to that. You've got to be humble when you approach people.
Indeed.
Virat Kohli, the way he goes off the bus, there's a great video. I think Sri Harsha Cricket's got it, where he's walking on the bus. All the players walk off. No one's acknowledging the spectators, which I'm not knocking the players.
I think he turns back and gives an autograph to a woman, right?
Exactly.
Yes. I saw that.
Extremely special moment. I've also seen him do that in Australia, where he took his shirt off to a kid to get him off the bus, without any press, without any fanfare, no showing off. He did it genuinely.
He did it even at the Oval in the 2019 World Cup. I mean, when they were booing Steve Smith, which was anyway a disgraceful act, he said, "Why are you doing it?" That showed that he really cares in a lot of ways.
I mean, I'm not joking. Virat Kohli, every single day, is showing me how decent a person he is. He does come across brash and aggressive, and on the field he's big raw. He looks a bit bad, but actually, no, he's not. He's genuinely happy. He's showing a great deal of. I'm being honest with you. I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Yep, indeed.
Look, Siddharth, I want to thank you for your time here. You've been a pillar of strength. Siddharth, you deserve accolades galore. I want you to come to Australia because I'm going to roll the red carpet out for you. You don't have to lift a finger. I will take you everywhere. You'll go everywhere. I'll give you the Rolls-Royce tourist experience here.
Absolutely.
And if you go to New Zealand, I'll go to New Zealand with you as well.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, I'm looking forward to your invitations for the England series, hopefully.
And this is a changing the guard too, by the way. So Gil's joined as Siddharth's going. Gil, say goodbye to Siddharth. He's got to go.
Hi Siddharth, and now bye
Siddharth. Commiserations, Gil.
No, but I thought you would be happy because you were a New Zealand fan.
I said commiserations to the Indian cricket fan, unfortunately.
Okay. For what it's worth, I thought in terms of having game sense and in terms of having, a practical and a pragmatic approach, today was India's worst day in the last 2.5 years.
Yep.
They tried to force a win and they paid for it heavily.
Big time.
I can't say how poor they were today. I think the last time when India lost to New Zealand in an ICC tournament, Virat Kohli had said it was 45 minutes of bad cricket. I'd say today it was 45 minutes of bad discussion before the day's play.
Yes.
Just the way that they were coming out to bat and, I'm not saying that New Zealand didn't bowl well, but it looked like that Virat Kohli wanted to score off every delivery. Cheteshwar Pujara was out playing at a delivery on the 5th or the 6th stump, which was so uncharacteristic of him. I have no words for Ajinkya Rahane anymore. I think I've already pulled out a few hair from my beard, from my head.
I think I read one post from Gil. The 5, 6, 7, and 9 2/3 time that Ajinkya Rahane is thrown away is
that was after the first innings, and then I quoted the same tweet by adding by plussing 1. I said it was the 9-8. I said it was the 9-8 7-6 5-4 3-2-1 instance of Rahane throwing his wicket away. And
brutal. That was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what hurts the most? What hurts the most is that he's technically the most correct batsman in this team.
Yes.
And it is going to be very hard to find a replacement for him as well, because you've not even blooded any youngster at home or in a home season as a backup for him. The last person who was a backup for him was Karun Nair, who's nowhere on the domestic circuit also. After Australia series.
I think they should blood Hanuma Vihari. Let him be in Rahane's place.
What I'd actually do is, I'd bat Hanuma Vihari at the top of the order and bring Shubman Gill in the middle order, because in the
Yes,
middle order you need stroke makers. Someone like a Hanuma Vihari at the top can blunt the new ball, and his game against swing is very good. If it was Australia, I would have said, maybe he can't play the short ball that well, but yeah, I mean,
yep.
I know Rahane has been India's top scorer in the World Test Championship, but there are some things which now are becoming inexcusable. I just
Yes.
can't put it any more
But
politely
can I
than that.
just can I defend Rahane a little bit there? The way he played in Melbourne in that Test match in place of Kohli was pretty admirable.
Norman, it's been 5 and 7, 12 and two more. It's been 14 innings
Okay,
since
okay,
that
okay.
innings.
All
Okay.
right.
Uh,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
I think Siddharth has to go. So it's good night from Siddharth.
Good night. Good night, guys.
Magnificent,
Good night.
Siddharth. I
Thanks.
really
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time, mate. Go New
Anytime.
Zealand.
Anytime. Indeed. Go Black Caps. Yes. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thanks, Gil, for coming. I love having you on. Both you and Siddharth. I had Galton in the pre-shows. Galton Bhattacharya, he's amazing. Have you met Galton? Have you met Galton?
Sorry.
Have you met Galton Bhattacharya?
No, I've heard about him. I've not met him.
He's excellent. You should have come on the pre-show. You should have come on the pre-show. It was great to have him on. Were you on the Delhi Capitals hookup just then?
The group, yes, I am there on the group, which is why when I saw your message and I told you that I'll come once I'm done with the Bharat Army.
But did you see me? I actually went live on their platform while I was on my platform. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. I didn't see that.
I held my mobile phone with their channel on, and while I was talking to them, I was talking to me for about 5 minutes. It's quite funny. Gil, I was talking earlier to a number of people about Rohit Sharma, my elevation of respect for Rohit Sharma and the way he didn't actually challenge the LBW dismissal, the way that Kohli has conducted himself today with his graciousness towards New Zealand. And even though Rishabh Pant didn't get a big score today, his efforts are still admirable. Now, you were quite scathing about India today, and I respect that. But I'm very happy with both sides, to be honest, overall. I think India haven't had the best of matches today, and they could have done better. But I think the way that we're looking at the top 2-3 sides now in the world for Test cricket are certainly, by far and away, India and New Zealand. And I would argue England on a better day. They've been playing pretty ordinary the last match. But they're your top 3. Australia is number 4. They're not in that top 3. What's your thoughts?
I think, despite New Zealand winning the World Test Championship, I'd say India is still the better Test team across
For
conditions,
sure.
because I don't think, I'm convinced that if New Zealand were to travel to Australia, that they'll win a series, let alone
True.
two. And I don't see New Zealand winning a series if they come to India for sure. So yeah, I'd say India is still the better team in terms of depth and in terms of consistency. But it was just, today was just such poor decision making in every way. I know Pant scored those 40 runs, but I was not happy with his approach as well. He was looking to slog, and Ian Bishop on air was mentioning how Pant has a very good defensive base. Now, if Ian Bishop is saying that you have a good defensive base, you have a good defensive base. There is no argument against it. It is not someone like me or you or some other, Tom, Dick, and Harry, saying that he has a good defensive game. It is Ian Bishop who's saying that he has a good defensive game. So I thought, even though Pant scored those runs, he could have trusted his defensive game a lot better than what he did. And that shot was, yeah, I really didn't understand what he was trying to do there. And I thought, once India were all out, and once New Zealand had lost those 2 wickets with, after Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor getting set, I thought maybe Virat Kohli could have had a few defensive fields and try and force the issue for New Zealand, rather than allowing them to score runs by having attacking fields, by bowling attacking lines. Maybe India could have bowled a few defensive lines and have could have spread the field, make it a little harder for New Zealand. But I'd honestly say all these talks of going for the win, etc., etc., look very hollow when you lose the way you did today. Uh, I don't think anyone can, any fan can truly say that they are happy that India lost because they were going for a win. because the win was non-existent. Let's face it. I mean, also Norman, I want to ask you, when was the last time you saw a bowling attack that had two left arm pacers in one bowling attack? Forget the likes of Bolt and Wagner, who are so accurate and so different. Bolt is a swing bowler. Wagner is a hit the deck kind of a seam bowler. The way he bowled to Jadeja today, brilliant spell, brilliant bit of bowling. So people need to realize that there was no win to be had when you face a bowling of such quality. You don't have one. There are teams that struggle to pick one left arm pacer. India has not had a left arm pacer in test matches since Zahir Khan. And Zahir Khan last played a test match in 2014. It's been 7 years that India have not had a left arm pacer who could bowl in test matches. I know T Natarajan played one test match, but I don't think he's going to play a test match in the near future for India. Uh, you you can count on your fingers the number of good left arm pacers in the world right now, and to have two is a luxury which no team can afford except for New Zealand. So people don't understand how foolish was it to even think of going for a win today.
Yeah. But can you change Rishabh Pant's attitude? To me, that's the way he plays cricket. And we have to kind of respect the fact, even though it looked ordinary the way it was dismissed, maybe Rishabh Pant has to learn when to actually do that and when not to do it.
I'm not sure if his attitude was down to his own personal call or was it down to the team's message of trying to score runs. I'm not sure whose call was it, because when he was playing in Australia, it's not like I said. Even in Gabba, India had left 80-90 runs for the last 20 overs. It wasn't as if he was swinging at every delivery. He was calculative. He was deciding which balls to pick, and he didn't try to slog Cummings, or he didn't try to slog Starr, or he didn't try to slog Hazelwood. He was playing proper cricketing shots. He was playing the
True.
cut, he was playing
True.
weight. So it wasn't. So I'm not saying that he should curb his aggression. I'm just saying that trust his defensive game like he would usually. And he has a very good defensive game. People need to understand that. You don't his head doesn't fall while he's playing the flick. Okay.
No.
He rarely plays away from the body. It's not that when he's driving there's a huge gap between his bat and pad. It's not that he gets beaten on the inside or the outside. It's not that he gets squared up. It's not that he can't play the pull. He has all the tools to succeed in all conditions. He's not a one trick pony which people make him out to be. Because if you were a one trick pony, you could have gotten away with what you did in Sydney, but you couldn't have got away with what you did in Gabba. So he's not a one trick pony. If he was a one trick pony, he would have only had 100 in Australia, which was in Sydney back in 2018. So yeah,
I agree.
I just thought that he didn't show enough faith in himself today.
You'd have to wonder what the message was that went out to him. Because what I'm a little bit concerned about with the Indian team, what I've seen in this test, there was some errors that Kohli made about the choice of Ashwin in the bowling. Ashwin and Kohli, I don't know how well they really get along. I got this feeling it's not as open and as genuine between them as you might think. Ashwin should have bowled more in this test match at certain stages and didn't. Even today, I think I talked earlier with Galton and Siddharth about him opening the bowling to get something going. He was the best bowler in their innings, quite frankly. Bumrah was very disappointing. But when you have people like Pujara and Rahane in the team, and Rohit Sharma, who are all fairly, experienced parts of the leadership in Test cricket, what actually happened? Because it looked like Virat Kohli may not necessarily have listened to them as much as he could have in this Test match. I don't know what's gone on. If you go back to even Gabba, Kohli wasn't there. I have a great deal of respect for Kohli. I think he's wonderful. I think he's the leading player in the world. But today, or more so in this match, he was left wanting a few times with his captaincy.
I agree.
And his attitude, not attitude, he's got a great attitude, but his responsiveness to what he may have given as instructions.
I thought he was not pragmatic enough. I thought in the first innings when Ashwin was bowling to Williamson, there wasn't a silly point, and there should have been a silly point. When Ravindra Jadeja was bowling to Conway, there wasn't a silly point for Jadeja, and I thought, like I said before, when once Williamson and uh, Taylor had settled in, India should have had defensive fields. There wasn't a third man today. There wasn't a sweeper today. There wasn't a deep mid wicket today. India were essentially after Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor had batted 15 overs together. India were essentially, out of the game to force a result. The only way they could have done something was to make sure that they don't leak the runs, and India didn't try that. India really didn't have a sweeper to ensure that whenever a good shot is played, there is someone to protect the boundary. On the other hand, when New Zealand were bowling today, with the way Wagner was bowling, they had a mid wicket, they had a fine leg for Pant. They were ensuring that good shots were only fetching one single run and not a boundary. So I think sometimes I think Virat Kohli can be too optimistic and too positive. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but today didn't really work out, and it's something which has been a feature of this team. It's something which happened in Adelaide 2014, and I'd say that today's brain fade was bigger than what happened in Adelaide 2014, because there you had a chance to go for a win. You had only 8 wickets to lose in one session. Today you had 8 wickets to lose in an entire day's play where you had a lead of only 32 runs. Over there, you only had to score 120 runs and you had two settled batsmen at the crease. So it made much more sense to go for that chase. So I really think that, today it was not the 45 minutes of play on the field that lost India the game, but it was the 45 minutes before the play in the discussion that led to the downfall today. I really think that in terms of game awareness, today was India's poorest in the last 2.5 years, regardless of the format. There was no way that a win was being forced today. There was no way. And I don't think
It's,
people realize this enough. But the way Williamson batted yesterday in the morning session, I think he ensured that there were enough loose deliveries by the Indian bowlers, because in that session, India bowled 23 overs, 8 overs by Ishant, 8 overs by Bumrah, 7 overs by Shami. He took the overs out of the legs of these bowlers and then ensured that when they were tired, the lower order was facing them and was going after them. And we also saw a result of that today when they were loose balls. So I think people underestimate batting time in test matches also, which was the need of the hour today.
let's have a look at the fact that New Zealand took 45, almost just under 46 overs to get that 140. But that was actually a run rate of 3.05. It's probably the best run rate of the match, ironically, as well. Look, there's no doubt that India could have batted longer and probably not so much played for a draw, but played so as to not lose the match. And that's what you're implying, aren't you? That if
Yeah.
they'd given New Zealand 10, 15 overs less to bat, New Zealand would have tried to go for it to win the match and may have come unstuck. It may have played into their hands, and they could have afforded a more attacking field on that basis. So, yes. Look, yeah, Virat Kohli, I mean, Galton and Siddharth and yourself have all talked about Virat's captaincy. I'm just curious as to the dynamics, because they've got some very senior players in that team collectively, all captains in various formats. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, if you were not to have Virat Kohli as a captain,
No,
I'm not
he
saying
stays
he'd be dumped. I'm not saying that.
he stays as captain.
Sorry?
For me, he stays as captain because you have to see who's the potential guy. You cannot have someone like Ajinkya Rahane as captain who's known to throw his wicket away so often.
Exactly.
Cheteshwar Pujara averages 30 in the last 2 years. He's had some good innings, but the thing is that even when he doesn't really throw his wicket away, but he doesn't score enough runs even when he gets in. I think sometimes he just gets bogged down a little bit, and
So I wasn't implying that Virat Kohli should not be captain. I'm not implying that. I'm not saying that Rahane or Pujara should be captain. I'm not saying that. But it's the combination of leadership in your team. You're the leader of the team. You're the captain, granted. But you have
there's
some
one
players-
person there's one person who can be the captain.
Who's that?
Ravichandran Ashwin. I think he's tactically the smartest guy in the team.
No
Okay.
doubt. No doubt.
And the reason why I say that is uh, you need to have a look at his YouTube channel, and you need to see how nerdy he is. The amount of cricket that he watches and the amount of nerdiness that he has to him, it's incredible. I follow him on Twitter, and you will find him following games of cricket, of some random tournament in some random part of the world. He's a very, 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 very deep thinker of the game. I'm not saying that he probably is as good as a player as Virat, may not be, but your captain may not necessarily be the best player also.
That's
Steve
true.
Smith Steve Smith is the best player in the Australian side, but if you ask me if he's a good captain, I'd say no, no way,
Absolutely.
because Steve Smith is a very, very defensive captain, and the biggest reason, or the biggest sign of that was that when Australia had won that first test in India in 2017, they should have won that series. The reason why they didn't win that series was Steve Smith was so afraid to play another extra bowler to ensure that Indian batsmen would be under pressure. He didn't play that, and he was happy with the draw. He bowled Stephen O'Keefe 77 overs in a test match, and he had to do it because he didn't play an extra bowler, because he was too concerned about his team's weak batting. So, and even in the IPL, we've seen some Steve Smith take some horrendous calls as a captain. So,
Well, I mean,
he,
the gutlessness of Steve Smith with Dave Warner was a tragedy. He could have stopped Dave Warner on his tracks with the whole going back to sandpaper game. Warner bullied Smith, and Smith allowed it to happen. Smith should have said, "No, mate, that's not on." He handled that rather poorly as well. Look, Virat Kohli is a great player. His captaincy, in general, the aggression, the fearlessness is immense. He's brought a new chapter to the team. There's a lot of great positives, but on occasion he needs to improve. And all I'm saying is that maybe he could have listened to his leadership team on occasions about Ashwin. Do you think there is, between Ashwin and Kohli, what do you think their relationship is like deep down?
I think it's similar to the relationship what I'd say the Ponting and Vaughan had. I know Ponting's mentioned on a couple of occasions, and people have talked around him that he found it difficult to handle and manage Shane Warne, but he knew that he was a match winner, and he had the greatest amount of respect for him. So I know that they weren't the best of friends, but there was immense respect between both of them. I think it's somewhat like that. Both
I think
both
it's a good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, both Virat and Ashwin may not be the best of friends, but I think there's immense respect for each other. You've seen them talk about each other on various platforms, and they actually mention how both of them are important in a way to the team. So I think it must be that, and like I mentioned, both Vaughan and Ponting were the kind of characters who had an ego, who knew that they want to be in charge. I think it's somewhat like that uh, between Ashwin and Virat, where both of them have an ego. So that is, I think, one of the reasons why Ashwin's not the vice captain, because you want a vice captain to complement the captain and not be sort of you know uh, you don't want two north poles together. You want a north and a south pole. That is what works well. So
Munchie's right as well when he talks about Dhoni and Kohli. The Dhoni is a completely different captaincy style to Kohli. Cool, calm, methodical versus passion and emotion, and aggression and fearlessness. Would I add into that as well? They're both good captains in their own rights. But see, having said a couple of negatives about Virat Kohli's captaincy, his exuberance, his passion comes out in the Indian team. Even when they won that match back in the Gabba and a few instances, his fearlessness has been an important change to Indian cricket. You must agree. I think I'm very high of the opinion of Ashwin. I don't know how long his Test career will go for, but Ashwin to me is going to become a legend of Indian cricket. Do you agree?
I think he's already a legend. He has more than 400 wickets. He has the most number of Man of the Series awards for an Indian player anyway. I think he has 8. So he's already a legend. And we saw how he bowled in this test match. He took 4 wickets. and he was unplayable in his first spell. And I don't know how that LBW call versus Williamson came out to be missing the stumps. I really couldn't believe it because the ball was very full and it stuck Williamson quite closer to the stumps. I was really shocked to see that it missed the stumps.
Ashwin, to me, he took 4 wickets when people were saying he shouldn't have been on the side. And they shouldn't have played 2 spinners. Jadeja's performance, okay. For a moment, Gil, let's just ponder on the performances of some of the Indian players. The disappointing ones for me were certainly Bumrah and Jadeja and Rahani's dismissal. Would you agree?
I thought today all 3 dismissals in the first session were disappointing. I think except for Jadeja's wicket, I don't think there was a single wicket that fell to good bowling plans. Jadeja was clearly sucked into a dismissal by Wagner, where Wagner kept bowling him into the body and pushed him back, pushed him back, pushed him back, and then he bowled a one slightly fuller and closer to his off stump, where Jadeja's muscle memory was such that he had been fending for 12 deliveries. So when by default he was ready to fend off the delivery when he could have just left it alone. So that was one dismissal I thought which was purely down to good bowling. But apart from that, I really can't say that there was any dismissal which was down to good proper bowling. Ajinkya Rahane is certainly not. Uh,
What
uh,
happened there? What happened to that shot with Rahane? Was he mentally frail at that moment? Because he saw the fields would go to that position.
I,
So,
that I don't know. I mean, it's become a even today. Some would say that it was a leg glance and he was unlucky. But I thought even in playing that leg glance, he wasn't sure. He wanted to go for the shot and then he took his bat behind. So yeah, it's really hard for me to make sense of what is happening with Ajinkya Rahane. Truly, it's very difficult for me to make sense of it.
again, to New Zealand, for the moment, we're very happy for them. They've won a World Test or a World Cup, let's call it, or a World Test Championship, which is great. They've had a few times when they've gone very close and didn't make it. It's a bit of a respite for them. But and a comment has come up here. They haven't won in South Africa, Australia, or even India. Is New Zealand worthy of this World Test Championship mantle?
Uh, you can only beat the opponents who've played against you. It's not their fault that the cycle is such that they're not able to tour the countries or they only play 2 test matches. I think somewhere the teams also need to invite them. I think if they go to South Africa, they'll beat them. South Africa isn't the best right now, but I do think that they're not the best side yet. I think if they come to India, they would be walloped. They'd probably lose 3-1 or 4 test match series. And if they go to Australia, they're not winning a series for sure. But
Maybe a little bit more now. Maybe they've broken a bit of
they
a.
might draw a series with Australia, but I don't see them winning yet. So
Why do you think that is? Why is that? Is that just a mental strength or mental acceptance? I'm not sure.
because Australian pitches require you to bowl with the pace. You need one bowler who can clock in 140 plus. New Zealand don't have a single bowler who can bowl 140 plus. Australian pitches,
What's Jameson's pace at best? He's
he's
close.
130, he's 130, 135. So Australian pitches need someone who can. Australian pitches don't swing; they seam. And New Zealand have swing bowlers, except for Jamieson who can seam, and he doesn't seem at the same pace at what Cummings does. So
But
we have
Matt Henry and Lockie Ferguson, they're well, maybe not quite there, but they got a bit of pace.
Lockie Ferguson doesn't play test matches, and Matt Henry. I don't know. So yeah, I think I think India is still the better team, but it's not New Zealand's fault that they've not played in these countries. These countries also don't invite them.
You know what?
India hasn't played against New Zealand in India for 5 years now. The last time that they played was in 2016. They could have invited.
Why don't New Zealand play more test matches? I still don't get that. I don't get that. Why is it?
Yeah,
Is it
I
a
think
monetary
because
thing?
yeah, it is a monetary thing. I think they lose money whenever they play a test match, especially in New Zealand. So that is why you see only 2 test match series.
But
But yeah,
we can't approach Test cricket just on the basis of winning or losing money. They can't. They've got to. ICC has to balance it out. They've got to compensate those that don't bring enough money and help them in some way. Otherwise, we'll be doomed to having the top three all the time. That's
yeah,
the danger.
yeah.
Now, it's now at this point in time. It's 5:30 a.m. in the morning here in Australia. 5:30 a.m. It's 1 p.m. 1 a.m. where you are, correct? How are you handling it? You know what? Everyone's coming to this channel now. I can notice they've gone to other channels. They're coming to this channel now. I can see we're like in that pecking order of time, and we get popular around 5, 6 in the morning, which is crazy for me. Look, in summary though, and I want you to summarise this, the state of Test cricket in the world is a positive at the moment. This series, having India do very well and go very close, having New Zealand win is a positive. And I'm glad, extremely glad that we had a World Test Championship. I think it'll work. I hope it works. I hope it gets full support. It gets a full place.
For the larger scheme, I think for the larger scheme of things in world cricket, it's better that the New Zealand won, because they for them an amount of $1.6 million means something than what it would mean to BCCI. So that way it is better. But yeah, I'm not sure how the second cycle of World Test Championship would be, where and how does it play out. So
It'll only improve, Gil. It's going to improve. They've made some mistakes here. They're gonna have teething problems, because back in the '75 World Cup, they didn't have coloured clothing, did they? They didn't have. There was not a lot of pizzazz about that match, despite it being a great game. That evolved, didn't it? Not that Test cricket needs to evolve, but the World Test Championship will evolve. I think it'll become, hopefully. I mean, people are complaining about the location. I get that, but do you think it should go to New Zealand next time because they won the World Test Championship? Would that make sense?
no, they wouldn't do it because of the timings. The time zone is such that if a test match is being played in New Zealand, uh, you would lose most of the 2 sessions for audiences in Asia, and you would probably lose all 3 sessions for audiences in South Africa and England. So from a time zone point of view, England going to New Zealand doesn't make a lot of sense.
Fair enough. Okay. Give me your top 5 thoughts. Just quick fire, 5 thoughts about this series. We'll call it a series of championship. In 20 years' time, when you look back, what will be your 5 thoughts looking back to the series?
Norman, I have not thought of 20 years down the line about myself. So forget about 20 years down the line what I think about the World Test Championship. But overall, I think one thing is that ICC should ensure that all series in the World Test Championship are 3 match series at the least. I don't want 2 match test series. Okay, because what 2 match test series does is that once you've won the first game, there is not a lot of incentive for you to even try and go for the win in the second test. You would be more than happy for with a draw. You win the test, you draw the test match, uh, and you get 90 points. On the other hand, if you win a test, if you play a 3 match test series, and if you win 2-1, you get lesser points. So I think they have to do something about the point system. That is one. Two, they have to ensure that there cannot be backing out of series, or teams should be penalized for backing out of series the way Australia did. Australia should have toured to South Africa. It was very wrong that they didn't. South Africa should have been awarded points for Australia choosing not to go. That needs to happen. Three, you know, the penalization for slow overrate should only happen in games which haven't had a result. For games which are finished in 3 days or 4 days, or even on the fifth day, Slow over rate has caused nothing. If Australia would have not lost those 4 points to over rate in Melbourne, where the game was done with 5 sessions to go, they would have been in the finals. So what do you gain by penalizing teams for slow over rate when there has been a result? You've lost there has been a result despite the slow over rate. Do you really want teams to sacrifice or compromise on the quality of the cricket for over it? I don't think so. So that needs to go. That I think it's a very stupid rule. It should only happen in drawn games. And yeah, these are
So,
the
so
two things.
let me just surmise: if Australia had not had that overrate issue, would they have made the final
Yeah. Yes, they would have.
against?
India against India.
Do you think that was a worthy final, though, Australia versus India?
No.
No. I'm very glad they didn't make it, to be honest. Because say if they turn around and won it, it would be an unfair reflection of Australian cricket.
they played poor cricket at home, and then they chose to back out of two series, one versus Bangladesh, one versus South Africa. So no.
But what I'm getting at is if Australia had somehow qualified and played, say, India and say, had won the match, right? It would be a very shallow victory because Australia is not the best test team in the world by any stretch of the imagination. I actually think there are two sides, as in New Zealand and India, and actually even England, which we'll see how they go in the Ashes, should be third. Australia is really ranked, in my opinion, at the moment, fourth. That's my opinion. I really think they're in a mess. And it'll be reflected in the test series.
Okay, Norman, here's a hypothetical question for you. What do you think would happen if Australia were to tour West Indies or South Africa at this point of time?
I think they'd be in a lot of trouble.
Because
I really think they'd be in a lot of trouble.
West
There's
Indies.
dissension in the team. There's enormous dissension in the team. When Steve Smith comes out publicly without telling anyone except for the newspapers that he's pledging to be the captain, and the coach, Justin Lang, goes, "What was that all about? I don't know anything about that." Tim Payne's the captain. Go away, Steve Smith. That's a pretty bad discussion, isn't it? That's disgraceful. It's a mess.
I think they Australian batting lineup might be in trouble even if they tour West Indies, because West Indies play with the Duke's ball. The ball moves a lot. Kemar Roach is doing well. Jason Holder is doing well, and so is Shannon Gabriel. So if these three bowlers bowl well, and Mitchell Stark is not at his best again, and which he hasn't been in Test cricket for 2 to 3 years now, West Indies could actually beat Australia in one of the Test matches, if not the series.
I totally agree. The reality is Australia is extremely brittle, both batting, bowling, and captaincy. You take away the top bowlers in their side, Cummins and Hazelwood aren't too bad. Stark isn't good. Lyons he's played well, but they have got no depth. If they have one injury out of that lot, they've got no one to come and replace them. They've got Nessa and James Pattinson there, but they really haven't got quality bowlers to back them up. The state system's not been going well. Their batting wise, Travis said Matthew Wade, there's a whole succession of middle order batsmen. Usman Khawaja should be back on that side, but he won't be. Jason Sanger should be on that side, but he's not yet there. Australia's batting side, bowling side, captaincy are extremely brittle. They are a fourth-ranked nation at best, if not potentially even lower. You watch. You're totally right.
I'm not sure even Nathan Lyon's that good, because I'll tell you why. When India were touring, he had two opportunities to bowl on the fifth day, and he went wicketless. He was wicketless on two fifth-day tracks. Well, he not wicketless. He got the wicket of this guy, Washington Sundar, but that speaks about his effectiveness. Imagine the outrage if Ravichandran Ashwin is not able to bowl out teams on fifth day track in India. People will lose it, and that happened twice with Nathan Lyon. And also, I have no clue why Usman Khawaja is not in the team. Usman Khawaja is one of the better players of spin in the Australian setup, and
absolutely, he could even be Australian captain. I'll tell you now. his play for Queensland, they actually won the Sheffield Shield recently, and Khawaja was at the helm there. They beat a very strong New South Wales side. Khawaja's been. Look, Gil, I'm being really honest with you here. There's a level of prejudice in Australia against Khawaja. There's no doubt about it. There's absolutely no doubt about it. His ethnicity has actually been a part of the reason why he's not on the side. No one's going to say that publicly, but I'm afraid it's true. And you know what? Khawaja didn't like it, and he was quite vocal about it and was out on the outer because of that. If you look at that video on, I think it's on the platform of Amazon. Have you seen that series where Khawaja's in the room and you can already sense it there that he's quite vocal and he's not listened to. Khawaja is actually an exceptional player. Some of the, especially in Australia, he scored magnificently. Even to this day, he's still playing well. Sad mistake not having.
I'll say one thing. I think Khwaja's better than the likes of Darcy Short anyway in limited overs, and I a part of me couldn't believe that Aaron Finch made it to the Test side ahead of Usman Khwaja.
Okay, Aaron Finch, I'll give him credit. I still think at this very moment in time, Aaron Finch is the best captain available in Australia.
That I agree. But I don't think he's a Test player, and I don't know how he played Test matches ahead of Usman Khwaja.
You know what? I'm a bit of an old school person. Sometimes the player may not be the best batter or be in a position, but if he's the best captain, put him in. And Mike Brearley back in England, even Bobby Simpson over time, even though he was a good batter. You sometimes need to have players that are actually almost selected because of their captaincy. I really think that a good captain can make up for being not as good in his batting or bowling form, whatever his position in the team is. That's my honest opinion. I think a very good captain could bring the side to another level if given the opportunity. That's my thoughts. How are you going, Gil? You tell me if you want to go, honestly, because I'm quite happy if you do.
Yeah, I'm sleepy now. I'm just
I can
thinking.
see that. And you've done a great job to be here. It's now almost 6. It's 5:45 in the morning here. Almost.
Yeah, I was just thinking. If there's any point left for us to discuss. So
no,
I think
we've done a great job.
Yeah,
I think we've done a great job. Gil, let me say, everybody on this broadcast that's here, we've still got a number of people here. Go grab Gil. You can look at point out tell us a bit about your handle, about your YouTube channel, very quickly before you leave. I want to give it credit because I think you are going to take the YouTube platform by storm. You keep going the way you are. I'll help you get. I spoke to Catherine McGregor today and Monty Panesar today. I spoke to them about your channel, both of them. I told both of them, and they're very interested. I'll try. I'm getting Ben Cutting on my platform this week. I don't know what day, and I will express if we can get him to come on yours. Okay.
So the thing that is written Gurkirat S Gill, for those who are active on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter. I have around 4,400 followers over there. I keep tweeting about the game, and my channel on YouTube is by the name of Gilly Cricket, and I do a YouTube chat show by the name of Gupshup with Gill. Gupshup in the local Indian Hindi language means conversation. So because I wanted to make it quirky, I chose that word Gupshup because it would have also rhymed with my surname, which is Gill. So I actually did that, which said Gupshup with Gill. So it's a combination of a Hindi name with an English thing. So where I've invited a few guests. Jared Kimber is one of them. Vijay Lokapalli is another. Ronak Kapoor of Crick Info is another. So these people have spoken about their journey, what they feel about modern day cricket, and what they feel about modern day broadcasting, amongst other things. I try and keep the conversation different for each and every show. Sometimes I ask them. So to Rana Kapoor, I asked about what does he feel about cricket broadcasting today. To Vijay Lokapalli, I was asking about what does he feel about sports journalism as a whole in today's world. To Jared Kimber, I was asking about how can teams improve, and how much data is used in today's times. And anyone who's read any of the article of Jared Kimber would know that he's a freak. He's a genuine. I think when it comes to doing cricket content, Jared Kimber's the equivalent of AB de Villiers. He can do anything and everything. He can do a YouTube video. He can write a book. He can write an article. He can do a podcast. He can do commentary. He can speak.
Movies.
Yeah, movie. I mean, when it comes to cricket content, Jared Kimber is synonymous with cricket content. So he had spoken about that. Then I had Ben Jones, who's an analyst with CricViz. He came on the show and he spoke of what are the new types of data that we can look in the game of cricket. So I've had these guests. So if you get the time, you should visit Gilly Cricket and watch those clips. I also keep uploading 1 or 2 minutes clip, 2 2 minute clips of something which I think is very insightful that they've discussed, so that people get an idea of what was discussed in that show. So do visit that channel, and like I said, you can follow me on Twitter, and I am also there on Instagram by the name of Gilly Cricket. So yeah,
So when you say
that's
Gilly Cricket, is it Gilly Cricket?
yeah, GILLY Cricket.
You best explain that. GILLY Cricket. In fact,
Yeah.
in the comment section of my post when the video's uploaded, which obviously is in the process of me doing now, please put a bit of a synopsis of what you've just said. Okay, please do that for me, and I'll pin it to the top of the platform. Okay.
Sure.
I'm very impressed with you, Gil. You're a great guy. Not only are you insightful, intelligent, you've got a comical nature at the right moment as well, and you're a great guy. I really love having you on the show, and all good to you. If I can promote you in any way, if I can get people for you, I mean, bed cutting is a good example. If you want some other people, Monty Panis, I know you want. I've talked to Monty about that. Monty will make waves to be a part of that. If you want to get some other guests, Jeff Thompson, whatever, you let me know and we'll organise it.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm very proud to have a great deal of coverage of people that I can get. As you know, I've had some great guests on. They're worthy of you getting on. I'd even have David Graveney on your show. That's people you should think about. David Graveney in Cyphers of ECB, the chairman of ECB Cricket, would be great to have as well.
Okay, thank you, Norman.
That's when I say ECB Cricket, I'm talking about the selection panel.
That's very thankful and extremely sweet of you, because today we are in the kind of we probably live in a kind of world where people are I sometimes find them to be excessively competitive and then incredibly insecure. People just want to keep everything for themselves. So
I've got an example of that. There's a certain person I mentioned she was on my show. She's proven to me that she's been very insecure and defensive. She's hidden her number of subscribers. She's done all these bizarre things lately, copied quite a few things in my show. I'm happy for her, but don't be competitive. We should have a spirit of mateship, of a community. You've mentioned Jared Kinger, yourself, myself, a whole range of people. There's plenty of room for us all.
Yeah, Jared's actually brilliant in that regard, because no matter how big or small someone's channel is, I think Jared almost always says yes to coming to anyone's show. He never has that.
He is a bit selective. If he'll have a bit of a look, don't worry. He doesn't go on blindly. He has a bit of a look. He has to have a bit of a look. But if that's respect to you, Gil. He noticed your style, your way, and said yes. I'll tell you now. It wasn't just a straight, I'll go on. There was an element of discussion. Okay, you've got to be a little bit careful. You can't go on every single platform. You've got to be reasonable about it. But at the same time, it's a community. And he would have checked you out a fair bit before without you knowing. And I tell you what, your quality. Whenever you talk, people go, "Oh, that was brilliant." You are a rising star on this whole platform. You keep your videos are polished. Your backdrop you leave nothing unsaid. I'm rough as guts. I've got a lot of fun things about me, and I like my way of doing it. But you are going to go to another level, and I'm going to support you all the way. Anything I can do for you, Gil, you've got me. I'm going to introduce you to anyone you want. You can be a part of my platform whenever you want. Full respect for you. I'm very impressed with you. Great person you are. So guys, get on his channel. His various interactions, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, it's going to go places. You know who you need to have on your channel is Adam Gilchrist.
Can you get him for me?
I'll have a chat. He will do it without fail. You know why? Because he's such a nice bloke. And why wouldn't he go on Gillies cricket? Why would he
Yeah,
go on
yeah.
that? I mean, on that basis alone, he's got to stand and take notice. For God's sake.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that actually would make for a great story. Gilly interviewing Gilly from Indian.
He'll joke with you and say, "You've taken my channel, my name. You've taken my name." He'll laugh about that. You know what? I'll just turn it down to Gilchrist. I've had many experiences with him. Every time he gets in a lift, I've walked in with him in a lift when we've both been talking. He observes the lift and talks to everyone. Instigates conversation. He doesn't go into a shell and keep quiet or I'm more important, don't talk to me. He'll go, "Hi, how are you? What's your name?" "Susan." "Oh, thank you, Susan. What are you doing here? What's your role?" "That sounds interesting." That's his character. He is the bloody nicest guy on earth, despite being a legend who could be untouchable. No wonder Gilchrist and Warren had problems with each other. They were two absolute opposites.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see what we can do. All right.
There are two people from the Australian team of the 2000s, which I think are one of the most genuine and nice people. One is Adam Gilchrist, and I feel the other is Brett Lee. These two people, I think, they're
Who
just
was
one.
second?
I think the other is Brett Lee.
And I'd also include, maybe not necessarily that era, Simon Kadich is the third.
I've never seen him talk or never heard stories about him, but Adam Gilchrist and Brett Lee, I've heard a lot. I've genuinely heard a lot from him, about
Adam
them.
Gilchrist, Brett Lee. I'll tell you the other two that are great: Simon Kadich and Michael Hussey. Four of the nicest blokes that'll talk to. And Pat Cummins is up there too, actually. Do you realise Pat Cummins' dog is named Norman?
No, I didn't.
Would you believe I bumped into on this because he lives not that far from me now. He's got a home very close to me. I'll go and throw a stone at Pat Cummins' house. His dog trainer or dog groom or whatever is a good friend of mine. She told me all about it. She goes, "Oh, Norman, do you realise that I've got a dog called Norman? It's owned by that guy. What's his name? Pat Cummins." "Are you kidding me?" Poor Norman. Go to Pat Cummins' YouTube channel, which is going gangbusters. Go to the episode where he puts his dog on and listen to what he calls it. "Come on, Normie. Come here, Norman. Come on." I laughed my head off. A dog called Norman? Well, that's ridiculous. Anyway, all right. All the best to you, Gil. We'll talk more. You're on anytime. You know that.
Sure,
Anytime.
sure.
We'll have lots of discussion. And we'll talk about who you want. I'll try and get people to help you get on your show.
Okay.
All right?
Sure. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Good night.
Bye-bye. What a magnificent man he is. Gilly Cricket. I think it's the name of his YouTube channel. He saw his Twitter handles, his Instagram. Magnificent guy. Knowledgeable, well-spoken, and articulate. He's very a bit of panache about him. He can muck around as well. A lot of time for him. All right, guys, we're starting to come to a point where we've gone 2 hours and 30 minutes. We've had about, this last hour's gone the best. I don't know where you are, or you're not sleeping. You guys should be asleep. But give me 5 questions and I'll ask. Collie has also lost in Super Over. Supernova. There's a bit of bagging about Collie at the moment. Yes, he made some mistakes in his match, a couple of them. In particular, the use of Ashwin was certainly a mistake. Maybe punt could have been tempered a little bit. But look, you've got to give it to Collie. Since 18 or thereabouts, he's given India a fearlessness, not a contemptuousness, but a fearlessness, a strength, not an arrogance either, a belief that they can win. And it's turned India around. They've done very well in Australia. They've conquered Australia. Australia has been bashed by India on a few occasions now. Not only the recent as with the previous series. India's been able to take on the might of England at home, and they'll be looking at that away. The series next 5 tests will be very intriguing. I think India has a lot to be thankful for because of Kohli. Kohli's reputation, as far as giving to his people, giving to people around the world, is paramount. It's second to none, beyond reproach. Virat Kohli is a great gentleman, and I have a lot of respect for him. Irani's on from Singapore. None of the Indian batsmen scoring big and carrying the team forward. Yeah, Pujara was a bit disappointing. Rahane was particularly disappointing. Coley certainly did his best, but just didn't quite get over the line. Williamson showed them all how to do it. To be honest, it was quite impressive the way that Williamson played this. And Williamson was the player of the match for me. Williamson was the player of the match. Jameson certainly deserved his title as well, but I would argue Williamson should have pipped him. And I don't know why that didn't happen. I don't know why. I think that the glamour of Jameson maybe more so. Okay, guys, I want you all, please, to actually, if you're online now and I can see Sebastian Barwick, I can see a number of people, Birami knows what I'm about to say. Looking at my subscribers, and I like it, if you're going to listen to this channel, or any channel for that matter, for any duration of time, the 60-odd people that are online right at this moment, that are constantly changing over, please go to the channel and view, like, and share the post is one thing. Make comments, but hit the subscribe button. Not just allow it to be a constant thing you watch every second day or every week or so, but hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, but it helps the channel. Hit the subscribe button and also perhaps the notification button to be notified of any of the live sessions that I do. And go about sharing it with your WhatsApp groups, your various platforms, and be able to allow people to join the group, because I think that's really important. We've got a lot of people that are doing that, and I'd like to be able to continue, gaining subscribers. And it's not a beat my chest type of thing. It helps the channel be able to get respect that it deserves, the amount of effort they put in. And I put a lot of effort into it, and I would like to be rewarded by something as simple as a subscription. I'm not asking you to do anything more than that. I've got a membership level there, which you can bring merchandising, you can have personal greetings, it's something you can do. But I want you to subscribe. Only 10% of people that watch videos actually subscribe. Now, I know you don't want to be overloaded by subscriptions on your list, and you might get a lot of people in the feed, but it is actually a bit of a acknowledgement that you are watching, and it's appreciated. So please hit the subscribe button. It would be great if you could do that. It would be certainly something that would, allow us all to be able to grow in a channel and be able to get exposed to them. And some of the people that come on as guests, they tend to look at the subscribership level and see whether you're worthy of going on. I know people hide the subscriber list, which is rather unfortunate. Just be yourself. People work out how many viewers you've got by looking at the views on your videos. If you've got low views, you haven't got necessarily a big subscription. And they go into the page about, they actually see your overall views. So if you've only got 50,000 views in your entire existence, you're not going to have many subscribers. It doesn't matter. You've got to start somewhere. It's okay. All right, so that's just my thoughts on that. I don't know whether we really need to be, so damning of our situation. I appreciate the way that New Zealand deserved it. Yeah, Ponting, Rachor, you're saying there that congratulations to New Zealand. Yeah, it is a congratulations to New Zealand. New Zealand deserved to be congratulated. They certainly did deserve it, you could argue. They may not even have been in the final, but I'm hearing that Australia deserving to be there. Australia don't deserve to be there. New Zealand did, and they beat India. And India perhaps didn't go into the match in the right team structure. Maybe they didn't need to have Jadeja in the side, even though he's a great player. He's a magnificent player, but didn't really contribute that much to the match. Bumrah had a shocker. Maybe Siraj should have been in there. Maybe those changes may have made a difference. The Indian batting side I thought was pretty good. Rahane was disappointing the way he got out. He got 49, he got out so badly. Very sad. But they had to look at the way Williamson played. Williamson was the difference. He scored over 100 runs in this test match, which in the scheme of things is, I'd say, to be pretty close to the most runs, actually. I don't think anyone scored as many runs, to be honest. So there you go. I think Williamson. We were asked a question earlier whether who scored the most, would score the most runs in this match. Well, Williamson did, captain. There you go. Coley went close, but he didn't get close enough, therefore they didn't win. Maybe Coley could have survived a bit better. He got out to a pretty good ball. He played outside his line. That's the problem on the England wickets. You've got to let the ball go more often than not. Don't be drawn into the shot. Yes. So please, guys, subscribe. I'm looking at the subscriptions. There are a lot of people online. I'm sure you're not all subscribed. If you aren't, please subscribe. Okay. Will team management replace Rohit Sharma during the 5-test series against England? I actually don't think they will. I don't think he's played badly. Rahani's more under pressure, I would argue. Rahani's under more pressure. Gill, maybe not quite, but Rohit Sharma, how many runs did he get? He looked good in both innings, I thought. He got 30 in the second innings and got out to an LBW, which he didn't challenge. So he got 30 in the second, and the first, let's see what he got in the first. Got 34. It's by no means the worst performance in the team. So no, I don't think so. Vijay Daniel lacks humility. Maybe he could listen more to his play. He seems to be improving a lot with his humility. I don't know whether you can say that anymore. I think he has more humility than you're giving him credit for. I think he perhaps made a wrong decision. Do you think Kane's? Do I think? Where is it? I was a masterstroke to an extent. Certainly, Williamson's overall captaincy in this Test match, and his own performance, his own batting was quite outstanding, and you've got to give him credit for that. So, I think there's no issue with that at all. Williamson he got 49 in the first innings, but it was extremely vital. He backboned the tail end of the innings. He batted like a lower middle order batsman, and being there with the tail, survived right through that period. So it was great. I would say Kohli also has to be looked at long-term, no score. Yeah, well, he got 44 in the first innings and looked particularly good out earlier the next day. That's unfortunate, but no, I wouldn't knock Kohli. I don't think Kohli's a sort of a problem. Kane had to choose bowling, considering 5 fast bowlers in the line. Yeah, he chose well. Jameson was given a lot more of a berth. Ashwin probably should have been given more of a berth, especially in the second innings. So, and I don't know if he bowled as much in tandem with Jadeja as he could have as well. The day that I think it was in the first innings where he put Bumrah with Jadeja when they should have used Ashwin was a bit of a failure there. But look, Virat Kohli's not a failure. He's a champion bloke, champion player, really up there as far as all efforts are concerned. I've got a lot of time for him. I think very highly of him. Okay, so again, if you're joining us, let's have a look. Kane faced, okay. Williamson and Taylor held their nerves. They certainly did. James was phenomenal with the ball, and a 2 years drought finally came to an end. Barnstead boys watching from his mobile, and he's written, and where he's written, Barnstead boy Richard Vernon, that's Chris's dad, which in England, it's 9 p.m. It's quite a fashionable time to be watching. I'm watching on my mobile. This is Richard Vernon. That's Barnstead boy. Let me just make, where is the comment on it? I lost it. There it is. He's putting on Facebook Messenger. He's commenting to me. I'm watching on my mobile, but it won't let me comment. New Zealand were fantastic, he says. Wagner is an unsung hero. I agree. He does the dirty overs and bowls with 100% heart every single delivery. Yes, and he was quite tactically good in the specials he took, I think, Jadeja and the like. He certainly was quite tactically good today. A very important cog in there for bowlers. Trent bowls, and obviously Southey, Jameson, and Wagner, if they hang around for long enough, with Matt Henry floating around, they've got a good bowling tank for some time to come. I think a lot of them. So, Marley Esther, I'm going to ask a girl called Marley Esther to come watch. I'm just messaging her now. I'm talking about you. Okay. I'm just going to message her now. am talking about you live on air. Come watch. So Marley Esther's just been told to come onto my YouTube channel and watch because she's been talking away. Don't you think Hollywood has been lucky? His last 3 ICC events finals have all been in England. That's pretty amazing. I'm going to tell me when on. Okay. All right. Well, we certainly had a lot of viewers in the last hours too. It's quite incredible. Since an early start time in the morning, we've had a lot of people watching, which is very impressive. All right. Norman, many people are opposing the criticism, but don't you think criticism can improve the performance, especially in final? Yeah, I'm not saying criticism is not a good thing. It is. Constructive criticism is wanted, is desired. Absolutely. Subhashis Bowmick, I agree. Day 4, second session was the game changer for New Zealand. Day 4, second session. Was that when New Zealand went ahead of their? I think that was when they went ahead and they scored. Correct, when they passed New Zealand's score with Williamson. Is that the time you're talking about? I think you're right. If that's the time you're talking about, I think you're right. Again, those who are joining, please show me evidence that you subscribe. I want to see a couple of notches on the subscriber listings because we subscribers are very important to me, guys. If you're joining the channel now, this late at 6 in the morning, I would like to be able to. In fact, Marley Esther's just sent me a message. Hello, Marley Esther. Are you on? Type yes in your Facebook Messenger if you heard me say that. Are you, Marley Esther, are you watching there from Sri Lanka? Message me on, or message me even in the YouTube channel comments. Message me, okay? Very good. It's nice of you to do that. How are you? Okay, so yeah, if you're on the channel now and you aren't subscribing or you haven't subscribed, just Marley Esther's made a comment. Thank you very much. This lady is the most beautiful lady in Sri Lanka, a wonderful lady, a singer, an actress, a movie star of the future, Marley Esther. Follow her on her Twitter handles, on her YouTube, on her Facebook, not YouTube, Facebook. She'll have a YouTube channel in the future. Marley Esther is an amazing woman. All right. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Spend a moment doing it now. I love to see people actually make that effort because 10% of those that actually watch the show or any of the programs or platforms actually do that. So let's actually have that happen. I think that'll be great. It'll be good for me to have that, to have that coverage. I like to see people all. I'm going to just take a photograph of that. Okay, so it's something of an amazing situation that I must say that people's interactions with this 10%, sometimes in some cases as low as 5% or even 2% of the people actually bother with I'm sorry, just putting that there. Okay, so we have a situation where New Zealand have won the World Test Championship. New Zealand won the World Test Championship by some 8 wickets. Both Ross Taylor and Williamson had a fitting end to their match. Williamson as captain. Ross Taylor could well be retiring. He's let BJ Watling take the floor today, but you might find that Ross Taylor may have played his last match and very happily having scored a not-out performance to win the game. In fact, it was he actually hit the winning runs, didn't he? I'm pretty sure. I think it was Taylor that hit the winning runs, which would make him very, very pleased indeed. I mean, to me, what did you get the last things? He got 47, just missed out on the 50. Very controlled, very good quality batting. Quality player that he is. There's no doubt about that. Again, those that I keep repeating, it's people who are watching, who haven't subscribed, spend a moment now while I'm talking and go and subscribe. Let me see evidence of a couple of notches. It's really important you do that. Only 10% or as low as 5% of people that watch subscribe, which is a bit sad, I believe. According to me, India always loses because they can't get tailenders out and Indian tail can't add some runs. Well, I would say that more that Indian batsmen are not getting runs is probably more relevant. They certainly do take tail-end wickets. I mean, Ashwin and Bumrah at their best generally do that with a great deal of certainty. Do you think New Zealand's won the final because they had player 2 Test matches against England just before the World Cup? Actually, no. I don't think that was the reason. India looked pretty good otherwise. How's cricket going in Australia? Pretty poorly at that. We've got a bit of a disillusioned up management group. It's better now with Nick Hockley, but captaincy needs to be sorted out. They're going to probably hold on to Tim Payne a bit longer and look for another captain. They shouldn't go back to Steve Smith. I've already answered that. Okay, in fact, you've got two platforms there. MDC loves New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand. Yeah. Not hard to love New Zealand. They've got a great relationship to a lot of things, and they're a great group of people, I must admit. So, I think they're a great group indeed. I think that, just going to get a bit of graphic there. All right, guys. Congratulations on continuing your program. It's great. I love comments like that. That's a great comment. That makes me very happy when people make comments like that. It's a wonderful situation to be able to photograph that. I love that. That's great. Thank you, Alistair. If Coley would have won the toss, what would he have chosen? I think batting, your view, Norman. Yeah, he actually said post the toss that he would have also bowled. I don't think that was true. I think he would have batted as well. I don't think that was a mistake if he did bat first, to be honest. The placement of the team was great. I think that they didn't do anything wrong there. India, they lost the toss, fair enough, but I think the order of events would have happened the same. Thank you, doing good for answering the questions with displaying the names. Well done. Thank you. I thank you for that. And congratulations, New Zealand. We need to do that, guys. We need to congratulate New Zealand. It's actually good for cricket in a way that that's happened. Have a bit of Australia one. They keep saying Australia. I'm a bit over people saying, "Oh, Australia won because of this bowler over retraction." Blah blah blah. No. Australia didn't deserve to be there. England should have won there before Australia, in my opinion. It's quite disturbing the way that goes. Indeed. Now, what time have we got now? It's 6:11 now. I think it's time we've got to consider going very shortly. Any more questions, guys? I'm there to answer your questions. Certainly like to answer questions. We're wrapping up the series, don't forget. Pooja shouldn't have dropped that catch. I don't know whether that single-handedly was the reason why they lost the match. No. Still going on. Well done. Time for breakfast. I've had dinner. Munchie, how are you? It's time for breakfast right now. I'm getting a bit peckish, or a bit hungry, yes. But Munchie, I thank Gil earlier for his service. Munchie, throughout this series and hopefully into the England-India series, you'll be a major part of my weather girl role or commentary role. I think you've been fantastic. I want one. Munchie's full now. Munchie, why don't you come on the channel, be a guest host with me and Chris one day? Do us that favour. I'd love to have you on. I mean, I've gotten to know you through messages, but I want to see you in person. I've seen one photograph of you, yes, but I want to grab a sanger, Norman. Well, a sandwich at this time? No, probably more of a cereal, I would probably think, for me. Okay, this is a question of the Australian. I think that 10 page should stay a bit longer. I think Aaron Finch brought in, not in Steve Smith, but I think ultimately Jason Sanger, Sangha, captain of the Australian 19s, respected in Randwick, the great club he's played for New South Wales now. He's even though he's got a lot of contemporaries ahead of him, I think that actually he should be the next captain. Richard Vernon, as Munchie, Richard Vernon, obviously Barnsley boy, said, I think Pant needs to be reassessed. Can't slide like that, batting at 6. Munchie has actually Richard Vernon, Barnsley boy, saying Munchie has a face for radio. Barnsley boys just slagged you publicly that he said you got a face for radio. So you're coming on Sean Munchie, but I think Barnsley boys, I think Chris Vernon, Richard Vernon's dad, dad of Chris Vernon, is actually jealous of Munchie. Okay, Barnsley boy, you and Munchie should both come on the show with Chris. Okay, we're going to do a palmy army, as I call it with the Australian guys. We're going to have a show where Munchie, Chris, his dad Richard, and someone else will be on, okay? Munchie's laughing. You would not expect anything less from him. There you go. So Richard Vernon's jealous. Richard Vernon, Barnstead boy, dad of Chris Vernon, is perhaps a tad jealous. Now, has Chris given Munchie his cup, his cap, and all that? Has he given that? I hope he has. Munchie, Munchie, tell me in the messaging, have you received your cup and whatever I gave you, shirt, cap, I can't remember. What I gave you through Chris, has Chris given it to you? Answer in the messages right now. I want to know. Or even Richard Vernon might do it. Okay, we need to get that on there. Now, Munchie, you're not asking my question. I'm going to ask my question. You will need an extra wide screen to get Munchie in shot. Oh, did you hear that? Munchie, next comment. You will need an extra wide screen to get Munchie in shot. I'm chubby, so I get in shot, so he should be able to get in shot too. Not here. He's also owes me several beers. Well, Chris Vernon owes you several beers and a cup. Well, then you need to get on that, Munchie. And Richard Vernon, basketball, you get on as well. Any updates to the Big Bash League? Bit early for that, I'd say, Aaron. Question of Northern New Zealand one. It was great to watch that. What's the pro photograph behind you? Photograph, that mean the photograph's there. Well, that's the books, the sequel book. That's one of my nephews with his son. My nephew's son, my mother's brother and sister, brother and his wife. Brother passed away. Yeah. Is that what you want to know? Munchie says he's not wrong. Soft focus needed for Barnstead boy. Soft focus. What is he a bit harsh? Is he on the screen? Got a bit of banter going on here between my Facebook Messenger and the YouTube channel. It's quite funny. That's Steve Waugh one. Well, that's the book. That book is the Steve Waugh book, The Spirit of Cricket India. It's about 220 great photographs that Steve Waugh himself or people around him took on that tour. It was early last year, January 2019, in fact it was. He went on that tour and took those great photographs. He spent 18 hours to get the photograph of the Taj Mahal. He's got magnificent photos in there, worth buying. I've talked about it on my YouTube channel. And you need to also go to his Steve Waugh Foundation and look at that, or stevewaugh.com, I think it is, and you'll be able to buy the book as well. Worth buying. It's a great book. Your favourite Oz captain of all time? Probably Steve Waugh. Alan Border. Even back to Donald Bradman, I liked him too. Richie Benaman. I would say they're my top Ponting. So my order would probably be Steve Waugh, Alan Border, Bradman, Neil Harvey, and Richie Benaman, and maybe Ponting. Okay. Yeah, Chris and Apana will be here shortly. Norman has been up all night. No wonder he's tired, but great that he is, and we all get to chat about cricket. Exactly. I love it. It gives me a great position to be in. Kohli needs to win a world tournament to shut the critics. Yep, I would agree. He does need to shut the critics up. I would agree with that. I agree with that totally. What's Ian Healy doing nowadays? He's on Channel 9. He was my favourite weekend. He was on Channel 9. His brother Greg Healy is a good friend of mine. Daughter Alyssa Healy. Yeah, still around. I'm an Indian fan, disappointed with the performance, but that is good that there is no joint winner and New Zealand deserve love from India. Great comment. Ayush Jain, I love that comment. We're all disappointed India didn't win. And being an Indian fan, of course. And it's good that it's not a joint. That would have been disgusting. That would have been negative for both teams. And New Zealand won, they can rejoice. It'll be happiness. We're all happy for New Zealand. And there's love from India. Great point. Yeah, that's interesting. Hardik Pandya may have made a big difference in this match. I must say, if he bowls, Ariane Patel, I'm hoping you've subscribed. I'm going to be going out there today and doing that exact thing. I talk about Rohit Sharma, Kohli, and Punt. Respect for those guys, and obviously Williamson. Good point. Indian bowlers should bat. Absolutely. Ian Hill travels well over for private coaching. Are you aware of it? I believe it. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. He's a great giver of his time. He loves coaching. He's a great talker. He loves an audience and people to listen to what he's got to say, especially about his cricket. Why not? Yeah, they missed Pulvi today for sure. Do you still think ICC structure is good for future. Not taking any credit away from New Zealand, but other teams play much better. I think there's some flaws there. There's certainly flaws there. I think they'd be the first to admit to their flaws to it. But you have to start somewhere. They've started somewhere. They've taken the bolt of starting. We've just completed our first one. Hooray. We have a world test champion, a World Cup winner of test cricket in New Zealand. Congratulate them. It'll be going in history. 20 years later, when we refine our system, it'll be a better points-based, round-robin-based system. Test cricket will be able to survive and survive well. That's the important thing. That's what I'm getting at. All right, guys. I think it's borderline time that I finish up. It's a good idea, but the point structure needs looking at. And without being negative, it'll happen. They'll get better. Trust me, it'll come back. Ishant bowled badly. He bowled quite well, actually. Shami bowled exceptionally well. Bumrah, who was the youngest of the crop, should be able to top his game. He's played the worst. Now, we should have... Okay, I'm going to just quickly have an eye on the next series, which is an eye... Okay, so congratulations, New Zealand. Congratulations. India did well too. Both should hold their head up proud. We're going to talk a bit about now India versus England. Big names are not threat to Indian tests. Sam Curran, now Jameson. Fair enough. Have you noticed cycle of teams getting good, bad, ugly, good over the years? Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to New Zealand, as we said. All right. Just quickly, we'll move on to England versus India, the 5 test matches which are coming up in the ensuing months. The conditions in August will likely suit the Indians better. The Indian team better. They could certainly play 2 spinners. It's dry then. But they have to be flexible, look at the skies, whether they need to bring more seam bowlers or swing bowlers. Good points. All right, guys. Just going to check the viewership. Judge whether we go. Yeah, guys, I appreciate you going on my channel and becoming a YouTube subscriber. If you can, the 32 people that are here, that's almost 2 months away. It's not quite, it's not. This is almost the end of June, Baran. August is not that far away. It's good, closer than you think. Yeah, well, that's great. I think so too. Test series is going to be hectic. Too many big names in such a short period of time. Bowls will be exhausted, perhaps. There is a 22 gig on right now. Yep. England versus Sri Lanka, correct. That's how I haven't actually checked the scores on that. Actually, what's the scores on that one? It's actually happening as we speak. And Sri Lanka are 7 for 129 on their 20 overs. And England are 2 for 113 with 4 overs to spare. Looks like they're going to... England needs 17 runs in 30 balls. They're going to do it in a canter. Josh Butler, 64 not out with Bairstow. So I think they missed those players in the test. So Jason Roy got 36. Butler was in there. David Millard, great. He didn't get any runs, but he was there. I'm glad to see that. The Sri Lankan side. So Narosh Dickwella didn't play. Justin Shanaka got 50. Very ordinary scores. Very ordinary scores. Looks like England are going to win in a canter there. So again, Sri Lanka are 7 for 129. England are 2 for 115 with only 15 runs to get and 28 balls. Exactly. I'm not from England. I'm actually from Australia. I'm from Coogee Beach, Sydney, Australia. That's where I'm from. Come on, guys. I need 4 more subscribers and I'll reach a little milestone. Help me out. Okay. India's favourites, in my opinion, for the Munchies reckons India's a favourite for the Test series. Well, after a game like this, they've got a lot of practice, haven't they? Ingle says, Granholm, Jameson, Nation, Southey, fast bowling all rounds, India's craving for. Yeah, I agree with that. Norman, thank you for a great show and everything you do. Thank you, Richard. But I want to get a show, Barnstead Boy, of you, Chris, Munchie, and anyone else you could suggest, a round panel. We'll get that together for the India-England series. How about that? Munchie, not the Test series, but for the T20 World Cup. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll get together randomly. I've got the Aussie and Upon talk all things India with it, but Chris and I do. We can add you guys on for one session. Why not? And Rathod Shashins, congratulations, New Zealand winning the thing. Great. With BB and me, it would be a very round table panel. There we go. Barnstead Boy, you've been knocked again. Hang on, let me just. I'm getting messages galore here. This is interesting. It was a very interesting little. I just got them. I'm going to send that through. I got a combination of. This is quite funny. I'll send this one too. Look at this. Anytime. Chris won't be happy there. Both on screen. You're both on screen. Look, I'll just put. If you just see that, you'll see it both on screen. All right, guys. I don't seem to be able to. We're getting up to 3 hours now. 2 hours and 46 minutes. But this is a final show for this match. It was the biggest Test cricket match in the World Test Championship. It's warranting all that. There, I would agree. We've just got to. Anyone that's not subscribed, please subscribe. That's my big thing today. With BB and OK, India versus Pakistan Test match never happened in 2000. After 2000, well, that was in Bangalore at Chinnaswamy Stadium. I was actually there for that. You stay close to CV. Yeah, Munchie's kind of an uncle, isn't he? I guess of Chris. His dad's Barnstead Boy, which is Richard Vernon, which he's on occasionally as well. Yes, not on occasion. He should be on. Full stop. He's not on at all. Matter of fact. I'm just looking at the time. Guys, I think it's time we go. Barami his dad is only about 10 minutes from me. Oh, there you go. Nice. New Zealand has an edge as they played the series earlier, and pitch was favourable as they won the toss. And of course, bowling attack was the best. They thrashed us. We lost is now a big scar. It's not a big scar. It's a good learning lesson. Asian teams, Munchie and I played in the same side for several years. What are you talking about? Cricket? Well, there you go. He's known CV for 20 plus years. BB and I played cricket together in the late 90s. There you go. Nowadays, bowlers fail to pick tail ends, wicket keepers early on that talent. Yeah, that's true. Kumble was best at that. And you'd have to also argue that Ashwin's pretty good at it too. All right, guys. I've got to consider going, guys. I think I'm due to go. All right. So again, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Go about the notification. Go about whatever you need to do. Please help me out. Those bowlers fail to pick tail ends. Yeah, that's true. Pakistan have produced great fast bowlers. They certainly have. Why not Steve Smith and Joe Root in the T20 international team? I mean, they will not play T20 World Cup. No, they probably will be in the World Cup. Barami said, by all. Even teams like West Indies, Netherlands, Ireland has better fast bowling rounds than India. No, that's not true. All right, guys. Well played, New Zealand. Love from India. That's the final comment we'll make. I think it's about time that I actually do have finished this session. My monologue has gone on for long enough. View, like, and share the posts. Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button now while I'm talking to you. Show me that you're doing that. I can see on the screen if someone's done that. Not so I've got to find the location, but there is a spot there where I can see it. Let me find. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. notification button hit, share with your various WhatsApp groups and Facebook Messenger and email groups. Okay, thank you very much. Last couple of comments. Steve Smith is in the IPL and he struggles short form. He's still a good short form player. The Malaysian fast bowlers can hit long sixes. They all can. Bye, big fella. That's to me. All right, guys. That's got to be it, guys. I've got to go now. All right. Well, take care now. I think I've had a long enough stint. If you like and share the post, subscribe, notify, share, make the channel grow. This is Norman Kochnak saying goodbye.